When I mail pounds, I'm triple vacuuming, making them look like they're the shape of a book. I'm taking the air out. I'm lining them up like Legos. I'm double boxing.
How much cash are you shipping back at a time?
He just wanted jewelry. It was all genuine gold or diamonds. I would just exchange jewelry for him. I did a Dope Boy University piece for Young Buck, and then that led to me doing G-Unit pieces for everybody in G-Unit. I'm living extraordinarily.
Justin Campos is a drug trafficker from East Texas who ran a multi-million-dollar interstate marijuana operation where he smuggled thousands of pounds of high-grade weed every month from California to Texas inside of UPS and FedEx boxes. He also operated a legit marijuana dispensary in Los Angeles and was on the ground floor of the legal weed rush back in the mid-2000s. Justin takes us inside the fascinating underworld of the black market marijuana industry, the growers, the brokers, the sellers, and the schemes that he used to launder hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, including making high-end jewelry pieces for rappers like Rick Ross and 50 Cent. Make sure to follow Justin on social media and stay tuned for his coming YouTube channel. This is a wild story that reminded me a lot of how I used to get it when I was in the streets. You're gonna love this guy. It's Justin Campos right here on The Connect with Johnny Mitchell. At the time when bud was still kind of in a gray area.
Yeah.
Like now it's like pretty much completely legal.
Yeah.
But in those years that you were running, it was like half legal.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
But see, another thing that's crazy is at that time, like you, how old are you?
I'm 40.
Okay, so you remember the days when it was $450 an ounce for some hydro and when people were spending $5,000 on a pound of weed.
Yeah.
That's why when I met my dude in Vegas, he was putting me on stack packs. And this was in 2014, 2015, $1,000 pound. That's a game changer back then.
Right. So stack pack is what?
$1,000. They call it a stack, like a stack, a rack, stack packs, 1,000 each. That's what he was charging me. I was able to charge 24 and couldn't even keep enough of them because they were going like that.
And what year was that? 2014?
2014.
So you're a generation after me.
Yeah.
Like I was having my run when everything was still illegal, like the last black market era everywhere. Like medicinally, it was legal on the West Coast, but
nothing was rec yet.
No, but it was still, competition was so tough that you had to start mailing and moving it across the country to make those million numbers, right? So, but you were running when California, Oregon, Washington, parts of the East Coast were legal. Like weed was fully legal.
No, when I was in Cali, my dispensary was a medical dispensary.
Right.
It went rec a year after I was locked up.
Okay. So you were operating in a gray area for sure.
Yeah.
But it was like, that seems like the sweetest time because there was so much plausible deniability. If you got raided, you'd be like, oh no, I'm sorry, I missed some paperwork. He said he had a headache, so I sold it to him, right?
When we get to it, I'll tell you like how easy it was to set up that dispensary. The paperwork was filed by an attorney. I just gave him like $2,500. He did it all, explained to me. Those days were great.
Yeah.
Now it's like $1 million if you want to open a dispensary in LA.
Well, that's why the black market is thriving again in California, because they put up so much red tape. You're like, okay, so literally you have to be a private equity fund or a cartel to afford to open up a dispensary.
And now all the dispensaries look like Starbucks and Apple stores on the inside of them.
Right. What did yours look like?
Mine was mainly I just had a ass front for an address, but we were doing deliveries. That was our bread and butter, all deliveries. You remember Weed Maps?
I was just going to ask you about that.
It was like $800 a pin, and we paid for 4 pins, and we picked them in different areas that we would service, and they would just call. People would call. We had a process. You have to send a copy of your ID and your med card. And I did follow all the rules out there. Like if your med card was out of date, I wouldn't sell to you.
So how busy were you doing that?
Constantly. I had 2 drivers. My phone never stopped ringing all day long, to the point where I lived on the 4th story of my condo. And like I'd call my driver, whether whether it was my pops or my boy Norman, whoever was going to be running, I'd say, hey, I'm going to text you the address. Let me know when you're back. I'm going to drop it down to you. And I lived on a corner unit, and they would just pull up, and then I would just put the delivery, all the in a bag, and just drop it down to him. He'd get it, hop back in the car, and then go on the next delivery.
Literally trapping.
Literally. I'm talking 24/7 to the point where I had to change my hours on Weed Maps so I could close down for at least 6 hours, or else we were never sleeping. And like on the weekend, sometimes I'd have a 2-3 hour wait because I'm running deliveries, my girl's answering the phone, my dad's running deliveries, my homeboy's working for me, he's running deliveries. On the weekends, he had another guy that he would call to work for me just on the weekends to run deliveries. It was literally non-stop.
And what's an average delivery?
Usually, like, not that much. I had a $100 minimum, so people would usually just hit that $100 mark just to get me out there. But
so that's like an eighth.
Oh no! Back then, I was still killing prices. I was doing eighths for like 60, so it was usually like 2 eighths or $100 quarter, and I'd throw some edibles in and like that. Yeah. But I did have a lot of big spenders. Like I ended up serving O'Shea Jackson Jr.'s son. O'Shea Jackson Jr.
Ice Cube's son.
Ice Cube's son. I got pictures of that. Like, cause right before we closed at like 2 a.m., we got a call, and it was a big ass order. And it was like, I was like, man, it was like $4,000. I was like, I don't know, man. But I was agreed him. He's like, I'm going to go do it. Cause he was on Duhenny. So I'm like, I ain't going to get robbed on Duhenny.
That's Beverly Hills.
Yeah. That's all the rich people. So my boy Norman, I met him out there, but he's still a good friend, and he's like a 6'3" black dude. You know, he's big. He ain't afraid to shoot a gun. He ain't afraid to fight. So I'm like, hey, bro, run with me to make this delivery. It's kind of sketch. It's a $4,000 order right before we close. So he rode with me. We went, and this Indian guy, nice ass building. This Indian guy's waiting outside, and he's drunk as and he walks over to my window. He's like, you got this shit? You got this shit? And I was real weirded out by him. And then all of a sudden, next thing I know, my light comes on in my car, and this black getting in my back seat, and he's got a hoodie on. So I'm thinking, we're about to get robbed. Some going on. And see, I brought all my guns from Texas, right? I didn't know that was a no-no, but I had them out there anyway. And so, you know, I'm getting ready. I'm reaching, and my homeboy's reaching. I look in my rearview mirror, and I'm like, that motherfucker. I turn around, and I'm like, man, you look familiar as and nice ass chains on. And the Indian guy's still standing at my door. He's like, do you not know who the that is? Do you not know that's O'Shea Jackson? And this is when Straight Outta Compton. I can't remember if Straight Outta Compton's out or if they're doing like the promo for it, but it was around that time because that's where I knew him from, is him playing his dad on the movie. And I'm like, oh, it is. And he's drunk as like he eyes barely open, but they ended up paying. We hopped out the car. We took photos. It was on Christmas Eve too. So the picture I have with him, I got like a ugly Christmas sweater on, but I served them, and then they called me 2 or 3 times after that and bought from me every time they were in the Duhenny area.
And so this is cash business still, right? Yeah. Even though it's medical.
No, I had Square too. I would let people pay with Square.
Okay, so then, but you're operating under an LLC, so you can take that cash technically to the bank, or you can't? Because banks are federal.
Yeah, technically
it's federally
you could.
illegal.
At that time, you couldn't. It was the guy that helped me set my deposit or set my up told me not to. Figure out a way. This is an attorney telling me, figure out what you got to do with it. You don't deposit this in the bank. So like I would pay my rent every month, not in cash, but I'd go to like a check cashing store and I'd buy a money order for $6,800. And I'm giving my dad cash, and then he's writing a check to pay like my car insurance, my car note, like that. And then he's just keeping the cash on him and depositing it like bit by bit in the bank, like a couple $100 here and there. It was a pain in the ass.
So it's weird because the California laws make selling weed legal, but because of the federal illegality, you have to become a money launderer.
Exactly.
So now you're committing another felony, another federal crime.
And it's up because it's like, I'm trying to do the right way, but you won't let me.
And did you guys have foot traffic into your physical brick and mortar dispensary?
No, because some people, but not much. Most of it, if I was gonna meet somebody like in person, it was really a deal that I shouldn't even be doing. It's like I can't remember I think it was 4 ounces was the most somebody could buy, or maybe it was 2 ounces. But if I was gonna meet you at my spot that it was registered to, it's because I'm selling pounds to you. You're one of my boys from back home, or you were referred to somebody I know. So, but everybody else, and you could even go on Weed Maps and it would just say delivery only. You just have to have a physical address to set up a delivery spot and to actually set up a dispensary.
I see. Okay.
So I had to have that physical, but
you never advertised
never,
it. I got you.
It was just advertised as delivery only.
Got it. And then were you also selling wholesale there?
Not there.
In LA?
Not there.
Because it wasn't worth it.
No.
The price was too low. Everybody had weight.
I had a couple guys that would buy wholesale from me, but when they would buy wholesale, it was just because they were transplants too. And I was the only guy they knew in the game. Like this one dude, cool as he lived in New York, so he would buy wholesale for me, and he could have, and I was still putting a tax on it, and he could have got it cheaper, I'm sure, but I was just the only person he knew.
And in 2014 at this time, what's a good wholesale price for a pound in LA?
A good price was like 14. I met this, I don't want to say their name, but like they were called Foothill Farms, right?
Hunter Biden.
Yeah, Hunter. Yeah. No, it was Foothill Farms, and I met these guys. I think they were somewhere in NorCal, and they were blessing me between $1,200 and $1,600 a pound.
And this is indoor, premium.
Indoor gas in LA at that time was stellar. But my guy that I was telling you about in Vegas, he was who was supplying me when I was still in Texas, hustling out there before the dispensary. And there was some that happened. The dude who introduced me to him ended up getting murdered at one of his video shoots. And he just disappeared. He fell off the map. He was gone. But my money was so long by that time that I was already in the midst of registering my dispensary that I pretty much just went out there blind and said, I'll just find a plug out there. And at first I didn't do that because another dude that would supply me here and there, who I met through the concert industry or the concert promotion industry, he was the guy in Wolf Creek in Oregon. He was a badass grower. His prices were a little more, but he's who supplied me when I first opened my dispensary. So I had all the paperwork from my dispensary pretty much giving me the right to possess as much as I want. You're allowed to have 4 ounces for every person in your collective, right? So the first trip when I went to re-up, it was a risk because I didn't have any paperwork other than my registration paperwork. But I would go up to Redding, California, and he would meet me in Redding. So he was legal in Oregon. So he had all his paperwork driving through Oregon, and then we'd meet right as the border crossed, and then he'd hand it off to me real quick, and now I'm legit to drive it all the way back.
So but how much weight is that?
Well, we were getting anywhere from 5 to 10 pounds at a time, but I was re-upping from them every 2 weeks, sometimes every week. It got to the point, once I got my plug, but that was just what got me started.
Okay, how much can you move through this retail delivery service? How much are you moving a week?
Once things were booming and going, 5 to 7 pounds a week.
Yeah, and 100 pops, that's a lot. That's a lot of profit.
Non-stop around the clock to the point where it was running so well, but I kind of got to the point where I was over this. It was just I was thinking about I was too hands-on. I got to the point I was just going to put on my owner cap. Us take a step back, me hire. I was talking to my boy Norman, my guy that was always with me. I was talking to him about him managing it. Let's bring in on 2 or 3 drivers, figure out what we're going to pay them. And but around that time is when the hit the fan. Anyway,
how much off of if you're paying $1,200 for a pound and then selling it out retail, how much do you make? What's your profit?
Bro, don't get me lying. That was so long ago, but I would usually clear at a minimum after gas, after paying my driver, on average, anywhere from $2 to $3 grand a pound. So, I mean, we were doing very well, very, very well. I love doing that. But it just got to the point that it really was. too much.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
Yeah, it was nonstop. But in some pounds we would make more than others. Like I had this other dude who I forgot about a lot of these people until now. His name was Fernando, and I met him through my guy. It was one of his childhood friends, and he started growing, and his grow was like a small op. He was doing like some in his house type of thing, but he was pulling down maybe 5 pounds, 7 pounds, something like that. But he would hook me up for 800 a pound, and it was gas too. So it's like when I would get that, those would be really big licks,
Yeah.
And then Fernando started getting better, and he started paying people to basically rent out their house to grow in it. So he started popping up where he'd call me and say, hey, in 3 weeks, I'll be ready. I should have around this and this. And he got to the point where he lined all his houses up, started taking clones from one and starting them all. So he got to the point where he's serving me like 20 pounds at a time. Of course, he's only coming through every 2 or 3 months, but I just had a bunch of shit. Like if my guys from Foothill Farms were like low and weren't around or weren't ready yet, then I would call Fernando. If he wasn't ready, then worst case, I could always go to Oregon or meet my guy in Oregon, but his numbers weren't as good. He's the bud that I used to get started, but once I got things flowing, he was the least profitable. So I found in-town guys instead.
Well, that's the guys at that level of the game, that part of the game, the supply chain, that was the best place to be in that era because there's so many growers and so many people with weight that they're competing for guys like you.
Dude,
you know what I mean?
We got to the point because on Weed Maps, you could leave reviews. It's like DoorDash for weed.
For sure.
But it's like we had 5 stars. It was either 5 stars or 4 stars. I can't remember, but our stars were maxed out. And we had great reviews. You could leave reviews on there, leave comments. People knew my dad by name. People knew me by name. We were very personable. We'd always hook people up with a little extra. If we had like some shake or something, I'd throw 1/8 of shake in for free on top of their order, just little shit like that. Great customer service. And it got to the point where sales reps would reach out to us and be like, I'm from blah, blah, blah farms. Can I get an email for you? We're going to send you a price list. And then you want to set up a meeting. We'll have a rep in our area. And this was still medical, but these guys would schedule a lunch, take me out to lunch, talk to me about numbers, bring me samples of product. And, but the guys, I realized like these guys would show up in like suits and shit and their numbers still couldn't compete with like the guys that were just showing up in flip flops and shorts that were smoking a blunt with me. They were like, but they had bigger money on the back end, but you could just tell that they weren't, They were just following the green rush. They weren't really about it. Yeah. But I did have this one girl I met, and I can't remember the name of her edible company, but she actually came through and had incredible prices on edibles. And it was, believe it or not, edibles, at least at that time, were selling amazingly out there. Like they were really, I would have people that would call me and just want edibles. They'd place a $200-$300 order in edibles.
Well, that's a whole section of market now, especially like older people. I know people that I think my parents take edibles. They'd probably never smoked weed in their life, not the weed that you have.
Yeah.
So like it's a whole just vertical by itself. You were also, while you're running this dispensary, are you still mailing?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah, so that was a section, that's a whole other section of your business that's fully black market, fully illegal.
100%. 100% illegal.
And you got started with that lick when you were still out in Texas, right?
Yeah. See, my guy that I was serving in Texas, he was really, I had two guys that when I would get the bud from my guy in Vegas, I had two guys I would serve. One of them was my main guy, and my other guy, he was a great customer. He would literally buy a pound a day. Like he would come by and buy a pound. He would go to work and he would just sell ounces to his friends at work. And he knew a lot of people because he was one of the guys that when he got off work every day, he'd go and sit at a bar in Tyler called Daniel Boone's. He would sit in there all day long and he knew everybody. And they always knew he had that gas. So he would just sell ounces and he'd be like, hey, I'm coming back. I'm bringing you the money for this pound and I'm going to pick up another one. And like, so those were my main two sales guys. I got to the point when I was in Tyler that I wasn't even doing hand-to-hand combat anymore. I'm not going to sell you an eighth or an ounce or any of that shit. I'm putting the weight off on them. And
this is Tyler, Texas?
Yeah.
So you grew up in Tyler, Texas?
Yeah.
And that's East Texas?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like an hour and a half from Dallas.
Okay. This is the part of the episode where I talk about erections for 1 full minute, or lack thereof. Probably lack thereof, right? You're an unhealthy son of a gun. I know I am. I really haven't got a natural erection since like 2003, way before Hims was a company. And boy, those were some lost years. I had a lot of girls not calling me back, okay? But thank God technology has obviated all of the shortcomings of the male unit. I'm talking about Hims, you guys. Hims for your erectile dysfunction. Hims connects you with a licensed healthcare provider online, giving you simple access to legitimate ED treatment options from home. No awkward appointments, no pharmacy lines. Just complete a simple online intake, and a provider will review your information to determine if treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your treatment ships directly to your door in discreet packaging. That includes sildenafil, also known as generic for Viagra, available through Hims at up to 95% less than the brand name version. And if that option isn't right for you, there are additional treatment options available, so you can find what works best for your body. Simple, transparent, and designed to make getting care feel easy. Easy peasy. To get simple online access to personalized, affordable care, not just for erectile dysfunction, I'm talking hair loss and so much more. Visit hims.com/connect. That's HIMS.com/connect. Not available in all 50 states. Prescription is required. See website for details, restrictions, and important safety information. Sildenafil is the generic version of Viagra. Viagra is a registered trademark of Viatris Specialty LLC. Hims is not affiliated or endorsed by Viatris. And so you were shipping out Cali weed and Vegas weed and then hitting off your people out here.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, see, my guy in Vegas, he was going up to the Emerald Triangle, and like, so I'll back up. So when I got in the game, it came from, I was a big concert promoter in my town, right? So everybody knew my name, and that was my main thing, concerts and jewelry. So I ended up meeting this guy through the music side of things, and there's this guy named Stevie Stone. He's signed to, he was signed to Strange Music. And he told me, hey, I got this guy named Hollywood Will, and he wants to buy a chain from you. Because at this time, I'm doing chains for everybody. And he was like, he wants to buy a chain from you. So I said, cool, give him my number. Because I had done chains for Tech N9ne. I had done chains for Stevie Stone. So my name's already kind of going around those circles. So I get a call from the guy, Hollywood Will, and he tells me the chain he wants. And it's nothing major. It was like a silver chain. It wasn't one of these crazy $20,000, $30,000 chains. So I tell him, cool. I quoted him. The chain was only like $2,500. It was a pendant with his name on it. So fast forward, I get the pendant done. I call him and I tell him, hey, your pendant's ready. If you want to shoot the money, I can mail your chain off to you. And he was like, okay, how do you want me to pay you? And I was like, man, at this time, like the only thing there was like PayPal. There wasn't any of this Cash App and Venmo and Zelle and shit. And so I was like, man, you can Western Union it or whatever you want to do. And he was like, well, do you want bud for it? And I was like, and I'm selling weed at this time, but I'm just sourcing locally and shit like that. And I asked him, I asked him, how much is it? And it was a killer price. I couldn't believe it. He said, he was telling me it'd be between $1,000 and $1,200. So at this point, and I'm already up because I'm doing like the pill mill hustle. I'm already selling bud. I'm doing jewelry. I'm doing concerts. So I'm like, I have nothing to lose. Like worst case scenario, I send this dude a chain and he sends me a bag of hay or something. Yeah. Like who gives a f? It's $2,000. So I give him the address. He shoots it. I send the chain, the package lands, and it's pressure. It's like some pressure. Even though it was a strand I hate, I know you probably remember when it would pop up Blue Dream.
I never gave a I was not a weed nerd.
Oh, okay.
Nah.
Anybody that watches this will know Blue Dream is like, back in the early or in the mid 2000s, like the 2010s, 11s, and 12s, it was like Blue Dream was everywhere. But he had sent me 2 pounds of Blue Dream and it was gas. Like I was able to get it off.
For a G a pound?
Yeah. $1,000 a pound.
That's wild.
And this pressure, may the Lord strike me down, right? So I call them. I sell that shit immediately, right? And I call them and I'm like, dog, how much more of that shit can you get?
And you just flipped it. You just gave it off to somebody.
Yeah, I smoked a couple blunts and I handed it off and it was gone, finito. It was immediately.
And what can you sell that for?
In those days, I was selling all my pounds for 24 to 25.
Oh, so this is lovely.
Oh, yes, 100%. Because at this time in like 2012, 2013, like pounds are 3,200 and up. So when I come in the game with 2,400, people would go crazy. Especially because most of the guys I was with, they were busting down. They were selling pounds. They were selling ounces. They were selling QPs, all that shit. So the dude, may God rest his soul, Hollywood Will, he said, my guy has as much of it as you want. He goes up to the Emerald Triangle. He's got as much as you want. So I'm like, damn, how can I get in contact with him, right? So in this time, I'm going back and forth. I just started going back and forth to LA myself because I knew a couple of people from the music industry out there. So I'd go out there and I was trying to meet plugs. You know, you see everybody that they're like, man, I don't know anybody, but I'm going to go to California and I'm going to get a plug. And I know people that, and I did that, but it was just like, they weren't great plugs. They were just middlemen, right? So, but he tells me this shit and I'm like, I've heard this before, but I have nothing to lose. And he was like, he's a rapper and he has a video shoot in LA with French Montana next week. Just come out there and I'll introduce you to him. So blind fate, me and my son's mom, we fly to LA. I go to this video shoot of this guy I don't even know, but he was the real deal. Like French was there, drones are flying. He's flying. And this is, once again, this is like 2012, 2013. And this dude's ahead of the game. He's got drone shots. He's got a Porsche. The video's crazy. The song's crazy.
So he's directing French Montana?
No, he's in it. He's a rapper.
Okay.
Right. And so this is Hollywood Will's best friend.
Okay.
Right. So I go to the shoot. You can see me in the video too.
Can you tell us the rapper's name?
And his name's JG.
Okay.
So if they look up JG French Montana, it'll pop up.
Got it.
Right. And the video's crazy. You'll see 2012, 2013. It's crazy. So like I end up meeting this guy, decent guy, and he's like, yeah, bro, like I got you on whatever you want. And so I'm like, cool. And then he tells me the numbers. And that's one thing that I respected about Will. He didn't tax me or nothing. He gave me the same number as Boy gave him. But Will wasn't hustling like that. He was really just focused on his music and shit. So I end up, I'm talking to JG and he's like, I got you however many you want. So I'm like, let's start off with 10, you know, and I asked him, how do you want me to pay you? And because I had brought money with me. And he was like, man, don't worry about it. Like, give me the address. They'll be there when you get there.
That's how you know it's the plug.
Yeah.
When he goes, just pay me when it's settled up.
Yeah. He said
that means he's got a warehouse full.
I'm
he's got to get it off.
Bro, he's probably the first time I ever saw $1 million. First time. Is when I started, because this started a run where I'm with this guy like for like 6 months straight. I'm with him all the time. So it's like he ends up shooting the shit for me, makes a phone call. You know, he really was on boss moves. We didn't always agree on everything because I was a little more low key and he was a little more look at me. But like, but man, he made the call. We chilled in LA, got to know him. I met a couple other people. We hung out and he was like, you know, we'll figure out the money shit on the back end. He was like, Will told me you do jewelry. And so I may get some chains or something from you and put that towards your tab. So sure enough, I end up going back to Texas. I go to the spot. They're there. They're in a moving box and this shit, bro, for probably, I guess that was the big harvest up in NorCal. But for months, I was getting berry white. That was like the only strand I could get. And I do think that it was probably some depths, but they were depths that were so good, they passed as ends, especially in this era.
And depths is greenhouse, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so as opposed to pure indoor.
Yeah, I think it's depot lighting.
Right.
I may not be 100% right, but I think it's partial light and sun, kind of like a combination, but it's not outs. It is. I know it is in a greenhouse, but don't get me lying. But at that time, people didn't know. And I'm in Smith County. I'm in East Texas.
It all looks like indoor.
Yeah, I'm not in Houston or Dallas or Austin. So these guys are just like, this is pressure.
Right.
So
And tell us about how the boxes. He sent it through the mail.
Well, look, yeah.
Like, tell us the process, because that's how I moved all my shit, was through the mail.
Then you're gonna hate this, right? This dude was the worst shipper. That, like, when I mail pounds, like, bro, I'm triple vacuuming.
Yep.
I'm making them look like they're the shape of a book. I'm taking the air out. I'm lining them up like Legos. I'm double boxing,
wiping everything down
with Lysol wipes, and I'll even spray it with some Febreze or something. Bro, this guy would just, or his people would just spin the turkey bag, tie a knot in it, vac it once, and throw it in a moving box. And I'm talking, we had one time that I lost a pack because of how shitty he mailed it. Like, but it's, bro, he's using big 2-3 foot moving boxes, dropping the pounds in there. I'll put 15, 20 pounds in a box sometime, 2 or 3 straps of tape, drops it off. And like, I swear to God, man, one time I pull up to the spot and the package was got delivered. There was like nothing underneath it. So like, if you push the box down too hard, your arm will just like go in it. Dude, the post office literally had taped one of his boxes back shut because there was so little tape on it. But I was like, bro, I swear to God, I brought that box inside and I let it sit there for like a week. I didn't rip it open in case the feds or somebody kicks the door and I can say, hey, that was to the wrong house. It's right there. I never even went inside.
My name's not on it.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, he did pack like shit. But
and he sent it through USPS, through the post office?
Yeah, USPS, or he liked UPS. I don't like UPS.
I got jacked by UPS a few times.
I did too.
By the end, we only used FedEx by the end. USPS was good, but back then they didn't have a good tracking system. Like, they never jacked us. They jacked me one time for a package of money, but they would never usually touch the boxes. But they were unreliable. The tracking was unreliable. Hell yeah. So I couldn't tell my people on the other end,
ready Tuesday.
Yeah, and if it was late, with FedEx, you would say, don't touch it. It's a dead package because it's got to be there by 10 a.m. because I paid for next
first
day
delivery.
But with USPS, it was too unreliable, so you didn't know if it was just legitimately they were running behind or it was the feds.
That's true, because USPS, I mainly use USPS because, USPS being a federal, which this, but they can't open your box without a warrant. They're not supposed to. FedEx and UPS, they're privately owned companies. So when you agree, they can open your box anytime and search it if they want to without a warrant or anything like that.
But they're also subject to federal regulation. So they have feds in the UPS and the FedEx sorting facilities. There's always feds there with dogs.
Oh yeah.
So it's like the airlines. They're private, but they're regulated by the federal government. So,
well, one thing though, but about USPS is but I just got used to it. But you drop a pack off, you see the first scan where you dropped it off at, you see it leave that sort facility, and then no update. Right. You're like, what the? And then you're starting to get worried, and then you check the tracker and it's like, is out for delivery. Right. It's like, there were no scans in between there. But he was a horrible packer, right? But he would just put so much weight on me. I just and I'd always ask him, hey bro, you need to pack these a little better. Oh yeah. I'll make sure they're better next time. Send it next time. It wasn't better.
And did you guys have an agreement? Like, if a pack got lost, he would eat it?
Oh yeah. He didn't even care.
It's so much.
Yeah, he didn't even care. Like, there were times packs didn't show up. I'm like, hey bro, there was one time he mailed with UPS and the pack even said on there, seized. The tracker lit up red. I can't remember what it said exactly, but it was pretty like confiscated. I called him freaking the out, and he's like, oh, don't worry about it. It happens. I'll overnight you another one. Just give me another address. And I gave him another address, and we just burnt that address. We couldn't. Nobody ever went by. Nobody ever showed up to talk. Like, even when I ended up getting in trouble, none of that shit was ever mentioned to me again.
Right.
But that shit would just scare the out of me.
I think they were so inundated in that era because so many drug dealers, drug wholesalers from the West Coast were shipping at such crazy volume that if it wasn't like 100 pounds or more, they would just say
charge it to the game.
Yeah, or they would burn it. I don't know what they would do with the seized product. Like,
hey, I'll tell you this. I'll get back to my story, but this is as of recently. One of my guys in Houston. Well, I say recently, but like 2022, 2023, because I would give them shit. You know, I would still dabble, or there were guys that I knew still in the game, so I'd kind of connect my people with them. And one day he quit with me, and then which is fine, you know. And I went over to his house to chill, and he just had some gas. I'm like, damn, bro, where are you getting this shit from? And he's in Houston. And he was like, man, I got a plug at UPS. I'm like, you got a plug at UPS? And he was like, yeah, bro. He said he sells me everything for $500 a pound. He said, but I have to buy it blind. So he broke down what happens to me. This dude is like, I guess one of the managers at UPS. And every time they hit a package, I don't know if it's every week or every month, but the law enforcement does come to pick up the seized product, right? I don't know what they do with it, but this manager, my guy knows, puts everything in the room, right? It just builds up in a room. Yeah. And then before they come, he'll go in there and just grab them in pounds. So my boy said he has to buy it blind because he don't know if he's going to get some top-notch ZA or if it's going to be some bullshit-ass outdoor. Yeah. But and he said he was doing it with that guy for months and months. He may still be doing it to this day, but they just let all the seized product just build up in a room until Harris County Sheriff's Department come and picks it up. So he said all the guys that work in the management side at UPS are going in there and taking pounds.
Of course. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they? There's too much for the feds to come pick up every day.
In Houston? You know
Come
what I'm saying?
on, bro. I'm sure some of those sheriffs are selling it off themselves. Oh, man, Texas is so corrupt. Yeah.
Especially, man, I don't want to go on a tangent, but look up, or your viewers can look up this cop named Pac-Man. Just type in Pac-Man, Harris County.
Sean Penn from Pose?
No. No, but the dirtiest law, you know. I think he's in the feds right now for a murder case. They kicked the door on some real training day shit. They kicked the door in to do a robbery, and they had hit the wrong house. They said the people tried to shoot at him, what they didn't. So him and his squad killed the people in the house. Ended up, and they said, oh, we got a tip about fentanyl or some bullshit like that, but they were at the wrong house, and that opened a whole internal investigation. And then the feds came in, and I remember watching this in prison on the news, and I swear to God, guys I was locked up with, everybody in 5th Ward in Houston knew Pac-Man. That was his area. And man, once all his cases went under review, attorneys and were coming to talk to the guys who were involved in cases. If Pac-Man's case sent you to prison, a lot of guys were getting brought up for parole, and DAs were coming to talk to them. Attorneys were coming to talk to them, because there were guys that I met in there that swore, I mean, they weren't innocent, but they said it wasn't as bad as they made it sound, but Pac-Man me over.
He was putting cases on people, dropping dope on people.
Yeah, type shit. And then robbing people. Yeah. There were people I talked to that he was doing a whole investigation on them, then would go and rip them, still arrest them, and then take a kilo or take 20 pounds and leave 2 or 3 on them, but take the rest of the shit. Or hit them, leave the dope, and then take all their money. Wow. Just dirty shit.
How many cops were involved? How many dirty cops?
I think there was 4. I think their squad was 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah. But Matt Cox has a story about that. He was serving time with a cop, and that's what they were doing. They were hitting drug dealers' houses, and they accidentally kicked in some old lady's house. And this is I think it's in suburban Atlanta. She was an 80-year-old retired teacher, and she squeezed on him, and they shot her dead.
Damn.
Yeah, and they tried to but they couldn't say, oh, well, we thought we were serving a warrant for this retired teacher. But they only got a decade or so. I mean, they didn't get life. It's bullshit.
And think about all the shit they got away with.
Of course. Of course.
But
so you're getting you're really drug trafficking at a high level.
Well, I mean, I never considered it drug trafficking because it's just weed, but yeah, in the eyes of the law, yeah, it was, because it gets to the point, right? So my guy in Vegas, he's dropping it off on me. As soon as he can send it, it's touching down. I'm dropping shit off of my people. And I would always give people a week, but it got to the point, the gas was so good and the numbers were so good that I would have people waiting. So it's like I didn't have to wait a week because I would always front, and I wouldn't have to wait a week to get my money back on the front. My guys are calling me like, hey, my guys are ready. As soon as it touches down, we'll have the money. So it's like it would touch down. I'd give it to my guy. 30 minutes later, he'd be back with the cash. So now I'm having to get multiple addresses because he's sending 20 to this spot, 20 to this spot, 20 to this spot. So we were doing it like that for probably close to a year.
Hey, if you've ever used nicotine before a workout thinking it would help your focus or your pump, you've probably noticed the opposite. For me, it killed my pump, made my recovery slower, it spiked my heart rate, and it left me crashing hard. That's exactly why I switched to Ultra pouches. I got one in right now. These are 100% nicotine-free and zero caffeine. They use nootropics and adaptogens that give you a smooth, steady focus and energy that lasts 1 to 2 hours without the vasoconstriction, jitters, or crash. I popped one in about 5 minutes before my workout, and I'm getting better pumps. You can see I'm jacked, sharper focus, and solid energy without feeling on edge. They've also been huge for killing cravings when I'm fasting or dieting, and because they have a shorter half-life than caffeine, they don't wreck my sleep. Yeah, most of these old pouches that I would put in would have me up at night. I've been using these for a few weeks now, and they're a total game changer. My favorite is watermelon. I've got that in. It tastes like sour candy. So it tastes like a Sour Patch Kid. If you want that pouch feel with real performance benefits and zero nicotine, you've got to try Ultra. New customers, go to takeultra.com and use code CONNECT for 15% off. That's takeultra.com with the code CONNECT for 15% off. I'm telling you, for you workout guys or for people that are trying to deep focus, and writers or people who work at a desk, I cannot recommend these pouches enough. And when they ask you where you heard about them, please tell them that our show sent you. It really helps and supports us. Go grab some Ultra pouches. And how much cash are you shipping back at a time?
Well, this is when I'm still in Texas. Yeah. This is when I'm,
that's what I mean. How are you getting this cash back?
I would either fly with it, but this is what was such the lick with him. I would fly him cash out, but his money was he just wanted jewelry. So it was easy for me because at this time I'm already making jewelry. So he wanted a big custom piece with his record label on it, right? And he went and got a quote at one of the jewelers in Vegas, and they told him something crazy. I can't remember the exact number. It's been a long time, but they quoted him like 70,000 or 60,000. And I told him, man, I'll do that for you for 40 bows. And he's like, all right, bet. So I'm selling them for 2,400 each. And then I'm locked in with the workshop and everything. My boy makes everything. Well, he doesn't, but he's got a team of people that make everything. And it was all genuine gold or diamonds, whatever he wanted. But I'm getting these pendants made for 12,000, 9,000, 14,000, whatever the case may be. And I'm getting bows in return, and I'm getting 40 of them. I remember he paid me 40 bows of some gas for a pendant. So every time it came time for me to pay my tab down, and I'd say, hey, I owe you, 50,000. I owe you 30,000. He'd just be like, well, what all do you got right now? And it would just get to the point where he didn't even care. I'd say, well, I got a couple bracelets. I got a couple pairs of earrings, and I would just take pictures, and he'd say, well, how much is that? How much is that? And then I'd fly out and I would just exchange jewelry for him. And we did that forever, dude.
So he was basically just taking payment in jewelry?
99% of it was in jewelry.
How is he converting that into cash? Or is he paying his connects in jewelry? At a certain point.
Here's the thing that I noticed. I didn't really ask questions, but the more I got to know him, I saw that. Now, keep in mind, I'm not the only guy he's serving. I'm one of his small fries. He's going to the Emerald Triangle and picking up 1,500 pounds at a time.
Right.
So the 20, 30 pounds he's sending me, that's not making a dent. He's got other people locally to him, and he was sending shit to people in New York, and I don't know how he got the money there and shit, but he had more than enough he was basically just spending his profit with me. you know? And it's like, cause he had his own shit going on that, but here's another thing. He got a couple Rolexes from me, and I know one time, and he was getting it on the front too. And I know one time it came close to him having to pay because he had called me back and said, "Hey, do you want to buy one of these Rolexes back?" And which I did because my money was super up at the time, but he was like, "Yeah, I got to go up to the Triangle next weekend, and I got some shit I'm gonna sell. I got to go pay my people." And that's when I ended up going down there, getting with him, because at that time I was making music too, and he went on tour with me across Washington and Oregon because I was opening for Stevie Stone, Tech N9ne's artist, and since he made music, I brought him on with me, and like that was around the time he was about to have to pay his plug, and that's when he had close to $1 million in cash because he had money stacked up, but he had just sold like a side-by-side, he had sold a Mercedes, like he was just gathering his cash up and then went and re-upped, but with me, like in my mind it was big shit, getting 100 pounds and shit, but in his eyes, that really wasn't shit. If he loses 10-20 pounds, he didn't give a
Right. So if you're moving 100 pounds a week, like
I was not a week. It was just like, maybe more like a month, but there was never, my guys would take as much as I could put off on them, but I usually would get 20 to 40 at a time.
Right.
And then when I ended up finally moving to Cali, it was because I just bought the G-Wagon.
But you must have had, if you're not paying your plug in cash, you must have had a money.
Yeah. When I moved to LA and opened my dispensary, I had about 300,000 in cash saved up, but also I'm living, extraordinarily, if you will. Like I'm buying Rolexes for me too. And I'm buying, I'll send you pictures. I've got 3 huge custom chains with my Platinum Star. That's the name for all my companies would always be Platinum Star, whatever. My dispensary was Platinum Star Healthcare. So it's a Platinum Star Records was the concert promotion shit. So I had 3 huge diamond pendants that I would wear and bust down Rolexes.
Yeah. How did you learn the jewelry trade?
So it's like when I was doing the concert promotion shit, I didn't have any plugs to big jewelers in Houston or Dallas. So there was one jeweler in my town locally who I knew all the other, like all the rappers and all the dope boys went and with him. So I met him on a whim and just went in there and said, "Hey," introduced myself. And I got a pendant made because I'm hustling at this time. So I'm sitting there, I'm telling him what I want, and he is like drawing up a design. And so I pay him for the pendant. And then I paid him half. And then when it got finished, I went and I paid the rest and I picked it up. So mind you, and they really do extraordinary work. Like the work that he was doing and his team was better than what at the time what TV Johnny in Houston was doing and was better than what King Johnny in Houston were doing. And so when I would throw these concerts with, ESG or Zero or Charlie Boy or whoever I was bringing down, they would all see my pendants and be like, "Damn, bro, who did your chain?" And I would tell him, "Oh yeah, my guy at Treasures, he did it." And so in the beginning, I was just referring people to him, right? So then it got to the point where I'm sending so many customers his way. He told me, and he would always kick me off profit, or I'd go in and have him get me a watch or a bracelet, and he would take something off because he sold this for whatever. And but he told me like, "Man, let me just give you the game. Like we can partner up."
Right.
So he started teaching me about like clarity, cut, settings, when it comes to Rolexes, like all the movements, the single quick set, double quick set, shit like that.
Wow.
So he really put me on. And then, so what really started is I was making music at the time, and I ended up getting on the Hostile Takeover tour with Tech N9ne, and which Tech N9ne is the biggest independent rapper in the world. And this was like 2011, and it was like Tech N9ne, MGK, and a couple of smaller acts that were signed to Tech's label. And so that's what really like catapulted me, because I was able to do a chain for Tech N9ne, and people started seeing Tech's chain and asking. Then I did a chain for Stevie Stone, one of his the guy signed to Strange Music, his label. And then Stevie is who told me about Will. because Will was a musician and Will had called Stevie to get a feature. And just in conversation, Will saw Stevie's chain and said, "Hey man, who did your chain?" And he was like, "Oh man, my boy Campo did. I'll give you his number." And that's how I locked in with the Vegas guys. Was through that connection. But I had also just been in the music industry so much through concert promotion. So when I made music, I had a manager. I had a whole management group called Yachty University, right? So one of the artists that was under the same management was this guy named Trey D. He had a couple big songs in like the 2006, 2007 era of music. His biggest single was Gutta Bitch. It was so big that they got a DJ Khaled remix and everything, right? So, but he was signed to Myth Hits, which is Jive Records, right? So my management had a lot of ties at Jive Records. So fast forward to where I'm like hustling and shit, Ron Stewart, who was at Jive Records at the time, he transitioned to Atlantic. He got another job, but my management group still knew him from his Jive record days. And he ended up reaching out to me because he needed a wedding band. He was about to get married. So I did his wife's, wedding band. I did both of their wedding bands and I just hooked them up. Right. So they were going to break Ty Dolla $ign. Ty Dolla $ign had just signed to Atlantic at the time. And then Ron had reached out to me about getting a chain for Ty Dolla $ign. And so I made a chain for him. And I asked if I could give it to him personally because I'm trying to build the jewelry shit too I was always trying to legitimize my street weed money because I'm getting pounds in from Vegas and Cali. So as far as everybody else was concerned that didn't know what I was doing, the outside looking in, everybody just thought I was like this big celebrity jeweler. Because they always see me like holding up a chain with Ty Dolla $ign posting on his Instagram, like Campo just made me a sick piece. And so everybody else is just like, man, Campo's always in LA and he's doing chains for all these rappers. So were you doing the concert business still? Yeah. Okay. I was doing the concert shit. Now, when I finally quit doing the concert shit was when I moved to LA to start the dispensary. Got it. But I was still doing the jewelry shit. I did the jewelry shit all the way up until the time that I ended up getting locked up. And are you sourcing the diamonds? Man, my people took care of all that. But do rappers know that diamonds are pretty worthless? Oh, there's no scarcity. Yeah, it's not like gold or something. Some of them do, some of them don't. They're starting to learn that. We're starting to figure out you can grow them in a lab. You don't have to get them from some African kid. Yeah, very true. Conflict-free diamonds is what they call them. Right. But at this time, I think lab diamonds, I'm sure they were a thing, but like moissanite wasn't a big thing yet. Like now moissanite's huge, which isn't even a diamond, but it'll hit with a diamond tester. And then lab diamonds are a thing. But mind you, this was a little bit before all that. So people really weren't concerned about it. Their thing was more about clarity. They just wanted VVS diamonds. They weren't really specifying if they wanted lab diamonds or if they wanted natural diamonds. We did mainly just use natural diamonds. We weren't in the business of people over or getting one over on them. We were trying to do like high quality work so they would brag about us and refer us to other people, but so were you making a profit or were you just using as a mechanism to launder a little bit of both? Honestly, from that, most of the time I would make sure that my boy made profit, but I was just building my own music career at the time that I didn't care about making profit. I was making so much money off the bud that I didn't care. I just wanted a chance to be able to go give 50 Cent a chain and take pictures with him and get his contact and get a follow on Instagram or something like that. So I didn't care. I'm damn near haggling for these celebrities to my partner saying, "Dawg, I know we can do it cheaper than that." Yeah. Like I can't go to him and tell him 30,000. He can go to anybody and get it for 30,000. So then he's making calls because I'll be real. What really set us apart and made this shit cheaper was that, you got people like Johnny Dang and shit who they're doing a lot of work in their workshop in Houston, Texas. They got people back there setting stones, making molds, all that stuff. My guy was in Broadway Square Mall, still is, great work, Treasures, Tyler, Texas, go see him. But he had people in India. So here's how all this shit works. Like the reason why a chain, or let's see, like a lot of these rappers are paying $100,000 or $70,000 for a pendant, right? So when you break the cost of that pendant down, it's only $15,000 in gold and it's another $15,000 in diamonds. So why are they paying $60,000 for it? So their reasoning is, well, because all the labor that goes into it. We have to make the mold. We have to set each stone individually, which that is a real cost. And some of these master jewelers are charging, or gemologists are charging $15 to set a single stone. And if you've got, 600 stones on this pendant, do the math. But when we would go through India, that labor shit didn't exist. So we were able to come in lower because we're pretty much just paying for material. We're sending an AutoCAD 3D mold, like a diagram, send it to them. They make the mold. And then we just have to design it, pick out the cuts, the clarity, what we want. They quote us a number with labor. They quote us so they'll call it worked. So it'll be, 40 ounces of gold will be the price, but 40 grams of gold worked and 40 grams of gold. So we want to know the work price. Like, how much is it going to be all in? And they would quote us the price and we would send it, pay for it. So even doing that, I learned my shit, but I was just a glorified middleman too.
So you were just doing what every company in America does.
Pretty
offshore.
Much. But I'm thinking it's some groundbreaking shit at the time. I'm 23, 24 years old.
So off of a $60,000 chain, what's your profit?
Margins are usually on those days, like anywhere from 40 to 60%. But that's what all these jewelers are doing. Like now, like when I was messing with jewelry, it was more of an honest time, right? You didn't really see a lot of rappers outside of like 50 Cent and T-Pain. And like you had to have platinum plaques and multiple #1 records to have a $50,000, $60,000 chain. Now some guy you've never even heard of that's got 300,000 followers on IG will have a $150,000 chain. But but margins even now are going to be, 40 to 60%. But like I said, that's how we came in. Okay. So fast forward through all these people that I was doing jewelry for.
Who'd you do jewelry for that we would know? Okay.
I did the Dolla piece. I did the Black Bottle Boys piece for Rick Ross, not the, so there was a Black Bottle Boys piece that Johnny Dang did, and then I saw it, and I ended up linking up with Rick Ross through Savvy Davis Jr., who back in those days, he was the vice president of Maybach Music Group, which is his label, but I ended up meeting him through just the industry ties that I had. And I saw the Black Bottle Boys piece that Johnny Dang had did, and it looked like dog shit. And I asked him, like, how much did he pay for that? And he told me it was like $55,000. So the agreement we made, I said, it didn't even look photorealistic. It was the Bel Air, Rick Ross's champagne. It was the Bel Air logo, but instead of it saying Bel Air champagne, it said Black Bottle Boys, and it looks, the label's badass. But the chain, the pendant that they made them, it was just the shape, the silhouette with black diamonds, and then with pink diamonds, it said Black Bottle Boys. It looked like some elementary shit. So I told Savvy that, and I said, look, I can do this and it'll be photorealistic. It'll be perfect. So the agreement we made was, we'll take it, but we're not going to pay for it unless he likes it. So that's how I got in with the bigger rappers. I'd already done the shit for Dolla, which, by the way, the pendant we made, it looked just like the actual image. It was immaculate. It had the two champagne bottles on it, had the Maybach Music Group label on it, or logo on it. So we did that. I ended up I knew Young Buck personally just through the concert scene, who he was signed to G-Unit Records, 50's label. So I did a Dope Boy University piece for Young Buck, and then that led to me doing G-Unit pieces for everybody in G-Unit, like 50, Lloyd Banks, Tony Yayo, Kid was with him at the time, and Young Buck. I did all theirs. Andy Boy at We the Best. He's one of DJ Khaled's guys. I did some We the Best pieces for them. I did the Tech N9ne piece. Man, I kind of got in the mix.
It's interesting. The jewelry business is like the concert promoting business, is that it's always, and music, rap, hip hop, it's always 1 degree away from the street, from drug dealing. Like there's always an intersection of drug money into all those businesses.
Well, and it's like, even when you're around some of these big artists, they got platinum singles and Billboard charting artists, like, you know, they may not be, but man, shit, some of the guys in their entourage, they're still, after this show, they're going to go sell half a brick to somebody, half a Kia Soft, whatever the case may be. This is kind of, you know, not to trail off, but it was crazy when I did the unit pieces for 50 Cent, right? They flew me out to Philadelphia. I met him at the Electric Factory. G-Unit was doing a show, and I was really cool with Young Buck at the time. So I would just chill with him, and we'd go to LA and party and shit like that. But I was never chilling and partying with 50. I would always ask him, man, you know, show 50 what I did, put me on, give me a chance. So finally 50 said, cool, make the G-Unit pieces. So they flew me out to the Electric Factory, right? And
that's in Philly?
Yeah, I was in Philly, and that was the venue. So they let us in, and Young Buck came and let me in the back. So I'm there with my guy. We're taking pictures and shit. So all the G-Units out there, and there's a big pool table backstage, right? And everybody's drinking Hennessy, smoking blunts, playing dice, like being loud as, you know, Young Buck's introducing me to everybody, but everybody's out there except 50. And then, so in my mind, I'm thinking, damn, is 50 even here? Like, is he going to big time me? And I got all their chains in my backpack. And then Buck told me, hey, yeah, in a little bit, I'll take you to give 50 his pendant. And I'm like, all right, cool. So like 20 minutes goes by, and he's like, come with me. So we walk down this hallway, and then Young Buck says, hey, give me a second. He knocks on the door. He walks in there. He's in there talking to 50. We're standing in the hallway. And then a couple minutes later, he opens the door. He's like, you're good. Come in. So like me and my boy, we walked in there, and, you know, they're all out here smoking blunts and shooting pool and shooting dice and shit. 50's in there with his glasses on.
Yeah, reading Warren Buffett.
Bro, his laptop's open. Yeah. He's got like soft Oriental music playing. Swear to God. And we go in there. He's like, you guys want some tea or some coffee and shit like that? And just a totally different vibe. But at that time, he had just sold vitamin water. So he's on his $200 million shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that was a cool story.
Wow, that's dope. And they paid cash.
Yeah.
So 4 chains.
No,
right?
they got 5 pendants.
5 pendants.
But I hooked them up. I did them for like $12,500 or $15,000. It wasn't anything outrageous. They just told me what they wanted. And truth be told, I've seen all the other guys wear them. I've never seen 50 put that on. You know, 50 got one. You know, I even had the box with their name on it and everything. But I think that was just some shit Young Buck kind of did as a favor for me to help me get in the door. Yeah. You know, it looked good for me taking pictures with 50 with the chains out and for social media. But all those guys, like, they went on Jimmy Fallon Live. Around that time, they were promoting, I think, the last G-Unit album they made together. I could be wrong, but and they all were wearing the chains I made them on Jimmy Fallon. So I took a screenshot of that, and like Young Buck was taking pictures with all the chains on and sending them to me. But that's and that's just what I would do. Is like I said, I was making so much money off the bud. Yeah. I wasn't focused on making money off the jewelry. I mean, I guess I should have been.
Today's episode is proudly sponsored by Cloaked. I say proudly because I probably have not been more excited about a product that I've advertised on this show than I am about Cloaked. I am literally, they sent me this ad read about an hour ago. I'm going to go home and sign up for this. This is how useful and necessary this company is. Cloaked dared me to check out how exposed I really am. So I punched in my phone number on their website, and within seconds, it showed my social security number and all of my personal information. I'm talking like places where I used to live, my parents' name, my sister and her ex-boyfriend's name. How did that happen? I'm being totally serious right now. Addresses that I used to live at. That shocked me. Data brokers are making billions selling your personal information to scammers, stalkers, and spammers. And most of us just keep handing over more every time we sign up for something new. It's true. We just keep giving our privacy away to these huge companies. Well, Cloaked fixes that. They find where your data is being sold and they wipe it. Even better, their app lets you instantly create unlimited burner emails, usernames, and phone numbers. So every time you sign up for something new, that website gets faked out. They get fake info instead of yours. I love this. You're not just hiding, you're turning the tables on the whole data broker game. They also monitor the dark web, block spam calls with AI, include a VPN, a password manager, and even $1 million in identity theft insurance. Incredible. Protect yourself right now. Go to cloaked.com. That's CLOAKED, cloaked.com/connect. Run their free security scan if you don't believe me, okay? And get 30% off any plan. That's cloaked.com/connect. Privacy isn't dead, it's cloaked. Well, how do you launder that? Like if you get $50,000 about for 5 pendants or 60,000, do you, I mean, you're not going to ask those guys to like give you a receipt or an invoice.
No, I would.
Okay.
Like,
how does that work?
I would literally just like type up a letter and then, or have like an agreement or have something. Things weren't digital like that then, but I would just have something printed before I go, because what made me start doing that wasn't even the foresight of me thinking about money laundering. It was, I started getting pulled over when I would fly in the airport.
Yeah.
But see, when I flew to LA one time to re-up before I had all my plugs in place, I flew out there with like 20 grand, which wasn't shit, but it was all in 20s. And TSA pulled me to the side and like they scanned my bag because I had it in my carry-on. They scanned my bag. They pulled me over. They said, "Hey, come talk to us. What do you have this money for?" And I told them, I'm a jeweler. I'm going to LA to buy a Rolex. The jeweler that I'm doing the deal with, we don't have the same bank branch, and I don't want to have to wait for a wire to clear, so I'm just flying out with the cash.
And a lot of people think that you can only fly with 10,000 or less. Can you explain that? Because that's what I thought.
Oh, man. Well, I swear to God, I can't count how many times I flew with 20, 30, 40,000, never had no problems.
And do you put it in your check luggage?
No.
Or you actually go through the...
Yeah, I go through TSA with it. I would put the cash in my backpack. But see, then I started learning the game, right? I realized but it looks fishy. The only time I ever got pulled over was when it was all 20s, right? Because, you got to think even 5 grand in 20s is a shitload of 20s.
Right.
But like, man, hundreds, you can have 20K and $100 bills and still fit it in your wallet. Your wallet won't close, but you can, so I flew to LA, to Denver. I would have just the cash on me when I would go to re-up. I would just have the cash on me and I would literally leave it in my wallet. And so many bills in my billfold, the bills won't fold, but I put it in there and I put it in my shoe, and swear I never had a problem. And then,
do you know the legality?
Oh no,
I don't know about the legality.
I just know if I was flying with too much cash, I'd bring 2 or 3 of my homeboys with me, and I would put 20 on him, 20 on him, 10 on him, and we'd all go through different lines. And then you just keep it in your wallet, and then it doesn't look like, you got it wrapped in cellophane and rubber banded. Oh, it doesn't look like drug, how drug money would look. Yeah. Okay. So and then I told them, if you ever get pulled over, just say, "Hey, I'm going to LA or I'm going to Denver, wherever, Vegas, wherever. And I'm a jeweler and I'm picking up a watch and the jeweler wants to be paid in cash." And that's what I told them. And I never had any issues, but that's what got my brain working to where I'm like, damn, I need to have like an agreement wrote up.
Some paper.
And then, so even when I was going to re-up or going to pay a plug, I would still have like bullshit documentation. But then I'm like, if I'm going to do something for real and sell to these jewelers and I'm going to fly back, or sell to these rappers and I'm going to fly back with cash, I need to have a bill of sale.
Yeah.
So then this way I'm really telling the truth.
For sure.
Like if I'm trying to fly back home, I can say, oh, well, Rick Ross just paid me 35 grand. Here's the paperwork. Here's the signature to his manager. But I never even got questioned. Nobody ever said anything to me.
Wow. That's amazing. And then are you able to take that to the bank?
Yeah.
So you can, under your LLC, you can go to the bank, and do you give them that bill of sale, or do you even need to? Okay.
Later on, I did. At the beginning, I would just drop cash, and kind of just, they would never say anything. I would just fill out forms.
Because it's over 10 grand.
Yeah, because it's over 10 grand.
Okay.
But then when they would ask me what's it for, then that's when I would start bringing the receipts to give to them. But honestly, at that time, before, I rarely even put my money in the bank. I was the type of guy that would have, 30 grand in a shoebox, 40 grand under my mattress. I was real big on cash is king. I rarely started with the banks until I moved to LA, and then people had to pay me. Yeah. Then I couldn't keep flying back to East Texas to get my money. Yeah. So I had my pop set up an account. I had my son's mom set up an account. And then I would just tell my guy, hey, y'all go drop this in this bank, go drop this in this bank. But one thing I was going to tell you, but I sidetracked, is I had my main guy I gave shit to, and then the other guy that would sit at the bar and shit, and he just knew everybody. Well, he ended up getting overserved at that bar, and then he was like 5 minutes away from his house because he lived like across the highway from me. He was like 5 minutes away from his house. It was raining really bad. He ended up getting in a car crash. He killed a teacher, killed her son, and killed a foreign exchange student. Right. So he's in prison. My boy, Carl Crabtree, he's a good guy. He made a horrible decision, but and they stacked. He got 60 years 3 times, and they stacked all his sentences. Wow. So he'll never see the light of day again.
And that was the guy that was moving product.
Yeah. Yeah. He was moving quite a bit for me. He wasn't moving as much as my main guy, but he's the guy. He was literally good for £1 every day, maybe every day and a half, 2 days. And it was like, and I was charging him more. I was charging him $200 an ounce. So, and that shit, that's $3,200 a pound, and he's coming through, and so when all that shit happened, that was around the time that I was already thinking about moving to LA. But let me tell you this. So, I'm getting everything from my guy in Vegas. He sends me everything. We're together all the time. So I'm exchanging jewelry with him. Or when I do fly out to him, if he wants cash, I'll take him cash. Everything's good. And then but he's really flashy. He's really loud. He's really obnoxious. When we go to restaurants, he disrespects people. Like, look, I flew out to New York with him when he wanted to meet one of the reps that I knew at Atlantic Records. And when we land in, I think we flew into JFK. I can't remember exactly. I don't think it was LaGuardia, but we land, right? And he gets 2 rental cars, right? And he got like 2 Escalades and a Mercedes, or an Escalade and a Mercedes. And we go and we get in the rental, and we get back to the hotel. And he tells me like, damn, man, I can't wait to smoke. And I was like, damn, do you know people out here? Thinking, he was like, nah, bro, that. He unlocks the bag on his luggage, unzips it, had like a pound in his checked bag, had a bottle of promethazine codeine cough syrup, and he flew with it. And I remember my mind was so blown. I said, dog, I gotta quit. In my mind, I thought, I gotta quit with this guy. Like, if he's moving like this through the airport, and he's flexing all this cash on social media,
and he's shipping you 20 pounds at a time, I'm like he doesn't even give a
don't give a at all. And so in my mind right then, I start thinking, I don't think I'm going to keep with this guy. Like, I think after I'm going to get this done, and I was already thinking I'm wanting to go to LA at this time. Like, man, I'm just going to finish up this deal that we got, and then I'm going to go to LA after this. I'm done.
And this is JG.
Yeah.
JG Wentworth.
Yeah. Call 877 cash now, baby. No, but it's crazy how things work. So we do that deal in New York at Atlantic Records. We get all that worked out.
What happened? You got a record deal, or
no? He wanted radio play. So I knew some of the people that were originally at Jive that were now at Atlantic, and he had the single with French Montana that I met him at the video shoot on. And so he wanted to get it on the radio nationwide. So I used some of my contacts at Atlantic Records. So we flew out there. We worked something out with radio play and shit.
Okay, yeah. So you were telling me off air that it's a federal crime now to pay.
Yeah, payola.
Payola, yeah. Explain payola.
Well, payola is basically like where a label pays a radio station to spin their artist music. You know, a radio station, it's supposed to be equal. A radio station's supposed to play all artists equally, right? So I guess payola is they don't want one label like Atlantic or like Universal to be able to monopolize all the radio stations.
So essentially it's like an antitrust law.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Because it's like you got to think whatever. Atlantic's not the biggest label. I think Universal is. But if payola still existed, no other labels would be able to. Now they could, but this is during the time of FM radio and satellite radio. Now streaming's, you know, but back then, if you wanted to blow up, your song needed to be on the radio.
Right.
And so payola is illegal because Universal could just go to every label and throw wads of cash at them, and then they would just play Universal artists.
Right.
You know, so they made it illegal to do payola.
Which was how the business worked forever, though,
100%.
until recently.
Yeah.
Like, that's why you have, you know, the predatory record labels of, you know, back in the day. It's because they had all the connections to all of the radio stations.
Hell yeah.
You know, and the mob was involved, of course,
100%.
in a lot of it. Okay, that's interesting. So now they do it, but you say it's like more, they have to kind of bribe them.
Yeah, and now it's like bribery. Like it's kind of like, hey, it'd be really nice if you could play our new artist single at all the prime time hours, and you know we'd love to, you know, give you, you know, we're gonna give you guys court seats to the Lakers.
Right.
If you don't mind, we'd really appreciate it if you played our artist's new single. You know, it's kind of like wink, wink, nod, nod type of thing.
Right.
And, oh, hey, we just happen to have a couple extra Mercedes down here. We're going to send them to, you know, the program director at one of the biggest hip hop stations in LA or Power or, you know, shit like that. And, you know, just so they find ways to kind of sugarcoat it.
So how were you guys pulling this off?
Well, because... And I don't want to get him in trouble because he's still at the label. But I've known this guy. I did jewelry for him. I met him through my manager. He got me in contact with Dolla. And I just knew, you know, if he wasn't able to do it, he would know someone that was. So he was able to facilitate radio play for this guy. And and we had set the deal up, and he was like, yeah, just tell him to send me the record and send me the money, and I'll send him the paperwork and we can get it done. But JG was like, nah, that. Like, if I'm going to do it, I want to go down there and do it in person. I want to go to Atlantic's office. So I told him that, and then he's like, y'all can come. So next day, JG bought all our tickets. We flew to New York. We went to the Atlantic office, which was crazy to even get upstairs. You know, it's like you can't, you know, there's a lobby, but they had to like scan our ID and print us a day pass pretty much that we stuck on. Then when we got off on the floor, they had to scan it. And this was back in like 2012 type shit, 2013. Yeah. It's very sophisticated shit.
Yeah. Well, after the era of Suge Knight barging into radio stations, you know, threatening to with baseball bats, and Tupac getting shot in the stairway of those places. Yeah.
And I can't remember exactly where it was at, but I know Atlantic's office.
I'm Midtown.
Yeah, it was somewhere.
But
it was somewhere in Manhattan. But we go there, we do the deal, everything's done. But then so that's
wait. So did you give money? Was this payola?
Yeah, hell yeah. Well, I'm not. All I know is
confessing.
This.
Statutes up at this point.
I had nothing to do with it. I was just middleman the shit. My buddy wanted radio play. I knew a heavy hitter in the music industry, so I just put them together. But I do remember JG ended up calling me because back in those days you could track your spins. Like labels could every song had like a tag, pretty much like a digital tag number, and I can't remember the name, but there was a website that labels could pay to access, right, that all the labels use, and you type in the tag number to the single you're working, and you can see what regions are your strongest, how many spins each station, how many spins you got per station, what city it's in, all that type of shit. So my guy ended up getting that and looked up his tag so he could check his radio spins, and he called me pissed off. He was like, dog, I'm getting radio play, but it's all between midnight and 3 a.m. And I was like, well, you didn't specify like what time you wanted. Y'all just made the deal. I wasn't even thinking, that far ahead of the game. You wanted to be plugged in. I plugged you in. Don't be mad at me about it.
So they took his money and then stuck him in the middle of the night.
Pretty much,
So you ultimately, you decided that you were going to quit receiving weed from the West Coast in Texas.
Well, yeah.
You decided to just pick up and move to Cali, move to LA. Why? Was that because it became legal out there?
No. Well, see, I just wanted to open a dispensary, right? Because I saw the industry changing, and the more I would go to LA, I just saw like how much money these dispensaries were making. In my mind, I'm thinking, damn, this is LA, the land of the bud, and they're charging more on quarters than I would be if I sold them back home. So if I'm able to sell them back home for $70, $80 a piece, why don't I just come out here and sell them for $100, $125 a piece?
Legally.
And that was my big thing. My son was about to be born. Shit was just getting too hot. Like people were kind of getting locked up. People were talking. I ended up getting robbed. I got set up by a guy that I would front small amounts to. He set me up to get robbed at gunpoint. And I was just like, I was just fed up with the shit. But what made my decision easier is, so I knew from that New York meeting, I knew that I was done for the time being with JG. So JG, we do that, and he calls me, and he said, hey, I got a video shoot at the Palms Casino in the Hugh Hefner suite if you want to come out. And I was like, nah, man, I'm good. Like, I got shit going on. I'm going to finish moving this shit that I got. I'll catch you on the next one. So he's like, all right, cool. So and I'm like, hey, I'm going to start severing ties with them. I've already started reaching out to my other guys that are plugged in. Their prices aren't as good, but at this point, I'm just like, if I need something, I can get it from them. But I'm really just trying to get this shit moved, tidied up so I can, transition out to Los Angeles. And, so I get a call in the middle of the night, right? And it's, it's JG. And I'm like, why the f- is he calling me? And I'm thinking he had that video shoot. Maybe it's a pocket dial or something like that. And he calls me and he goes, hey, man, Will's dead. The guy that introduced me to him. Will's dead. You're not going to hear from me for a while. I'm about to break this phone. Just keep that shit I sent you. And I'm like, Will's dead. He said, yeah, I can't explain it, but Will's dead. I'll reach out to you. Yeah, you'll hear from me when you hear from me. So I'm like, all right.
How much shit did you have?
Like, I can't remember. They're like 30, 40 pounds, something like in between 20 and 40. I can't remember exactly, but I'm like, come up. But at that time,
Thanks, Will.
Yeah. RIP, brother. No, at that time, I'm already up. I'm up six figures. I'm already up 200 bands at this time.
Should have been up way more, bro.
Yeah, but I
would have had 3 million on me.
Oh.
By the way, in the comments, they're going to roast you on that. How'd you only have 300K if you were moving 40 pounds a week at a 1,400 profit a pound?
Bro, I'm throwing concerts. Not all concerts are wins. Some of them are losses. Some of them are break evens. I'm driving a brand new G-Wagon that I got off the lot. I got Rolexes. I'm paying rent on 2 different houses. I just brought a son into the world, so I'm getting him the best of the best of the best everything. I'm throwing anytime anybody's got a problem, I'm there to solve it. Somebody needs $5 grand, 10 grand, I got you. But I took, and I was, flashy shit.
That's the difference between me and you. I'm cheap.
Yeah. And see, and I should have been, but I ended up finding out how Will passed away, which I even looked it up the other day because I had told this story on Matt's pod, but I looked it up and I just typed in Hollywood Will palm shooting, and the story was told to me, and it looked a little different on the news report, but so basically they were at the video shoot. A fight broke out. I was told by some of the guys in JG's circle that Will and his brother were fighting, but in the news report it said that him and his brother were fighting two other guys, but a security guard got in the middle of it to break it up, which it wasn't even really a security guard. It was just one of their friends playing security, and he pulled a gun out, I guess to pull in a gun to break the fight up. And in the midst of it, Will got shot in the chest, and Will ended up dying in the hospital, shit like that. And so that kind of which was crazy. I told that story on Matt's pod, and I remember I looked up JG when I came home. I was just like, man, I wonder whatever happened to JG. I was just going to touch base with him, see how he been and shit. And I couldn't, I called everybody that knew him from LA. They said, man, I ain't heard of that guy in years, So I'm thinking maybe he's in prison, maybe something happened to him. And then, but when I told that story, I'd seen somebody commented on Matt's video and the last pod I did, and they were like, JG just uploaded new music to his YouTube. So I guess they searched him up and shit. And so I guess he's still out there. I even seen a dude in the comment say, which, people bullshit in the comments, but they said, I know exactly who he's talking about in Vegas. That dude's still running the game, but see, he wasn't the best rapper, but man, his money was so long. He was getting songs with French Montana, Snoop Dogg, Juicy J, he was Payola all the way around.
For sure. Okay, so but that kind of, he's out of the picture now. So your plug is gone.
Yeah.
So you need to go to Cali to kind of restructure your operation and find a new plug.
Yeah, well, see, at that time, I went down to LA and I started looking into how to open a dispensary because at that time it was medical. So I found a guy that was literally just like a marijuana attorney. That's kind of like what he specialized in. And I told him I wanted to set up a dispensary. He charged me like $2,500 or $3 grand and said it'll be turnkey. I'll get you ready. Just give me 2 weeks. So I paid him. And then I started looking up houses and condos and shit like that. And really, I just kind of put the game on ice. I would use a guy locally to serve my guy, that just to kind of keep him in place. I really wasn't making much money. I just didn't want to lose any clientele in case this LA shit didn't work out. I wanted to keep my guy fed.
Okay, so who did you leave your Texas business with? Like
the jewelry shit?
No, I'm talking about the weed.
Oh man, I was the only one that ran the Texas. I was doing.
So did you not leave a guy there to receive the work? That's what I mean.
But we weren't really it wasn't really my business. Where I was just his plug. I'd get it. We didn't ever split money. We didn't.
No, that's what I mean though.
Okay.
Who were you serving? When you went out to Cali? Who was in Texas still?
My main guy that pretty much that would move 90% of the shit, because I really only had 2 people that I would dump all my weight on.
That's all you need.
Yeah, and I didn't even, like I said, nobody even thought I was a drug dealer. I was just I knew all the rappers. I was a concert promoter. I made music. I'm always on tour. I'm always with, major artists. I'm always in LA. I'm always in Miami. So I had a really good public appearance. Nobody knew what I was doing. As far as everybody was concerned, I just smoked. So but yeah, my guy out there is who I was going to leave the game to, So I ended up getting the weed attorney. He got everything ready, turnkey. I found a spot in LA at the Palazzo East, and then we started packing everything up, moved out there. and then I started, but when I got out there, that's when I was saying I really didn't have a plug, right? I had met a guy that was in Oregon, and I met him through the whole concert scene. Because when I went on tour with Stevie Stone, and I was opening for Stevie, there was a Green Tree promotion. They had booked this whole Stevie Stone tour, and Stevie Stone called me and asked if I wanted to come on it with him. So when I went on tour with him, I ended up getting to know this promoter really well, and he's in there, and this is all throughout, we're doing the tour all through Oregon and Washington. And so he ended up knowing people that were in the game out there, and he's just like, oh man, I got guys with the best smoke in Oregon, and in my mind I'm just like, man, Oregon don't know shit about bud, you know.
Damn, ignorant, bro. We have the best weed. Probably still to this day.
Dude,
and the cheapest. Yeah. That's what most people don't know. We have the most weed, and it's the cheapest, and it's the best. Even better than Cali.
This shit was bad. But at the time, I'm just like, man, I'm going to LA, and I always buy shit from the dispensaries when I'm out there. And then my main plug's getting shit from the Triangle. Oregon don't know shit about that. Man, so this dude put me down with somebody in Oregon. Pressure. I'm talking, he had this shit called Willie's Purple Goo. I've never seen it again, never heard of it. This shit was like a vibrant purple, like a purple I've never seen. It was so purple that people were asking me if he was dyeing it. Like, is this color natural? And it's like, it was, he had won cannabis cups. He had his big strands he always grew was Willie's Purple Goo, lamb's bread, not lamb's breath, lamb's bread. And he had like 2 or 3 of them that he always had, but he would always grow the same strands. He was with genetics. It was all just gorgeous. And that
was indoor.
Yeah.
Pure indoor.
Yeah. 100% indoor. And he was a little more than my Vegas LA guy was, but the quality was a step above those stack packs I was getting.
And what was he giving you pounds for?
Like at that time, some of it's like 15. He was, but at this time, I didn't mind spending the 15, 16 on it because I'm using his shit for retail.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And by that time in LA, if you're trying to compete on weed maps, you need the best shit.
Exactly. And I'm still turning a profit. I don't know off the top, but I'm still like if I'm selling $100 quarters, $125 quarters, like, bro, the profit's there. I can afford 16, 1500 on a pound. So that's what I did when I first got to LA. I set up, I didn't do a physical storefront. I set up 4 pinpoints on Weed Maps, and Weed Maps was ahead of its time. I'm sure it still exists now, but it was ahead of its time. You could update your menu daily. You could take pictures. You could, you get reviews, you get ratings, all that shit. And so I would always just update. Like I was saying, like my paperwork had me legit to ride with it. He was in Oregon. I was in Cali. I'd drive up to Redding. He'd cross the line, throw me a duffel bag. I'd put it and a couple of times he drove it all the way down, but sometimes I would go right to the edge. He would bring it and then I'd drive back.
Yep.
And then just take pictures, put it on the menu. And we ran for close to a year and a half. But the whole time that we're doing this shit, this is when I start melling bud. I'm still melling bud back to East Texas.
Okay. So seeing how sloppy your old plug was in mailing, did you tighten things up? Like, did you actually perfect the art of shipping a pack?
Yeah, man, my packages were beautiful.
Okay.
My packages didn't even look like they were. Look, I had that shit down to a science, right? I would always double and triple vac. Make sure I wear gloves the whole time, wiping the bag down.
Change out gloves every step of the way.
Yeah.
I used to have like 4 pairs of sweaty gloves after I was done, just caked with THC. Because every time you go to the next step of bagging up, you change gloves just to make sure that there's no residue or anything that's going to get on the box.
And that's what I would tell people, that you defeat the purpose of, if you're weighing your shit up. You're weighing out of a turkey bag with 5 pounds in it or something. You're weighing out your pounds with a cup on your scale or whatever. And then you're touching it, and then you vac that. And then with your same gloves or bare hands, you're putting that inside of another bag, and you're cross-contaminating everything. But yeah, I had it down. Like I had certain size boxes I liked, and I would always at least triple vac, sometimes double vac, but most of the time I would triple vac. And then I'm bubble wrapping everything. And then once they're in the box, I'm buying a slightly larger box to put that box in.
Okay.
And see, some guys would go the extra mile and they would get like that foam spray.
Right.
And I didn't like that shit. That made it too messy. It was too weird. Like, just do it clean. But I would always make my shit look like it was and I would put business as the return. So I would find a business in my neighborhood. There was this aquarium store, and I would use the out of their address. So I would send stuff to my boy, but it would be the name of the aquarium business. And then right by my condo in LA on Hauser, there was I can't remember, it wasn't Voodoo Donuts, but there was this donut spot right.
Trejo's Donuts?
I can't remember.
Pink sign?
I can't. No, I don't think it was Trejo.
Give me the Hauser and what?
I can't remember. It was on 3rd and Hauser. It was across the street from that Coffee Bean.
Yum Donuts.
Yum, bro. Yes, it was Yum. But over in that same shopping center, there was a mailbox store. Like they do FedEx, UPS, USPS. They would mail all my packs.
Right. So you never actually walked into a post office to do it?
Never. Yeah. I would just pay the premium to ship with them. There was a little bit more, but I would go in there with 4 or 5 boxes and give them the addresses, and they didn't mind. They'd see me, hey, how are you doing? We hadn't seen you in a couple days. It's like, I'm sure they knew what it was, but nothing ever stank. I was so paranoid, right? Well, not paranoid, but just on my shit that, like, if I was going to send packs out that day, I wasn't even going to smoke. I wasn't going to have smoke on my clothes, and then I'm going to pack all my shit up, and then I'm going to set it outside. So in case if in the middle of doing all, I'd put it on my balcony, because in the midst of if I get a call from the dispensary, if I got to get something ready, I just didn't want that smell anywhere near the box. And it may have made no difference, but I was
But you could sleep good.
100%.
And you know that if a box gets picked up, it's not because I failed. Yeah. It's just the luck of the draw.
It ain't because I was the way I packaged it.
And how many are you getting in a box?
I usually would not do more than 5.
Wow, so you go in with 25 pounds of gas sometimes?
Yeah, at its peak. But
okay, so how many, if you're paying, is this the Oregon $1,500 weed?
Yeah, well, this was through the Oregon guy. I was doing the same shit, whether it was through the Oregon guy. Then I transitioned to the Foothill Farms guys that I met. Their prices were a little better and their quality was still good. It wasn't quite Oregon.
Right.
But these guys would bring it they'd show up to my door,
worth it.
knock on the door, they'd come in with big ass bags, unzip them, and just let me go through them and pick them out, And then they were so tied in because they had their own farm. They'd be like, oh, well, which ones do you like more? So we can bring you more of those next time. Or what kind of shit are you looking for? So, because they would only come over with, a small amount of what they had. I don't think they were local, but they may have been in Bakersfield, maybe. I don't quote me, but they would. Or where are Sierra Hills at?
The Sierra Hills?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Okay,
there's a Sierra Madre Mountains, but that's further north.
Okay,
and east, but it could have been in the central.
I'm not sure.
That's Central Valley, so that they're coming from the north.
Yeah,
north and east.
I don't want to lie. I just know that either the guys I were dealing with, their people were growing it. They were directly tied to it, so they'd call me. Yeah. But I got to where I would, if my guy in Oregon wasn't ready, I had my guys here that were ready. I just always had a rotation. So it's I'd walk in and just have, but here's another thing. When I'd walk in, all the boxes were going to different addresses. So my guy that I would send stuff to, he had his address. And then he had another address, somebody he let that let him use the Addy. And then I still had my childhood home, which I got raided in. I still had that home out there that nobody was living in.
So did it worry you that you were shipping to kind of a small town?
No, because Tyler's a small town, but it's not like a one stoplight town. It's like there's, 300,000, 300,000 people in it. Like there's a lot of people out there. So it didn't really worry me because I was so far away and I was thinking I'm never going to go back. So it didn't really cross my mind.
Well, I like when I used to ship to people that lived in these small towns in South Jersey, I would always find addresses in Philly because Philadelphia is a huge area. So you're never going to I was always just suspicious or worried about postal people seeing a small business, an aquarium business, sending a bunch of boxes to different addresses in a small town.
Yeah.
Didn't really make sense. So that was the level of paranoia I would go to. So I'm like, okay, let me ship to a huge metropolis where it'll just get lost in all of the different, commerce.
I get what you mean. No, This town was big enough that like they're not remembering like the package that's gonna show up 2 weeks later. They're not gonna be like, damn, did this? It's not that small of a town. There's still a lot of hustling and bustling, and there's tons of people out there. So that really didn't worry me.
And your people in Tyler, what were they paying?
I was paying. I'd usually, my rule of thumb was always to put $1,000 on.
Yep.
it. If I can't make at least $1,000 a pound, it's not worth my time. So I would always. That's why sometimes it kind of got towards the point where when I had Oregon shit, and I'm telling them, hey, bro, these are 26. I had him so spoiled from the NorCal Vegas shit that he was used to paying $2,000 because I'm getting him for a rack. I'm charging him $2,000. So now when I'm at 26, he's just like, damn, dog, you're jumping up on me. But I'm like, the price went up. Like it's not the same people. The quality's better. So he liked it more when I had the Foothill Farms guys because their prices were a little better. He could do 22, 23. He just didn't like doing the 26 and shit like that.
Well, they don't need the premium because it's Texas.
And that's exactly what, especially at that time, he didn't give a and he liked it for himself, but it was a harder sell because, he's paying more, so he's charging more. I ended up finding out that he had one guy that he was dumping a lot of shit off too, because he would call me and tell me like, hey, I need you to make sure that, because sometimes I would be chill with it. I wouldn't always go in there with 4 or 5 boxes. I also had shit I had to do, so I'd be like, hey, I'm shooting you out, 10 a day or 15 a day, and later on in the week, I'll send the rest of them out, or you need to pay me for these before I send more, because I started kind of separating myself from it. The more money that I was making in LA and the bigger my dispensary was getting, the more of like the less I cared about this shit because it was a pain in the ass. So I would start sending like kind of less and less over time. But he had a guy that would want sometimes 20, 30 at a time. So, and he would call me and stress me, dog, I got to have 20 all at once, or I need to have 30 all at once. So I would make sure he got them, but he didn't like the price. I would tell him, bro, just because you're buying 20 at a time or 30 at a time, like the price isn't going to drop. And I told him, I was out there firsthand, Cali numbers, like, bro, 30 pounds ain't shit. You ain't going to get that big of a price break on 30 pounds.
Well, especially not in that era, because even though the weed is tremendous, you don't have, it's not like buying from the cartels that are, harvesting tens of thousands of pounds of outdoor. It's like people don't have that much quantity, so they don't need to give you a price break because they only have 200.
Exactly. And then you also have to think, especially them, I'm sure they still do it now, but out there, they know exactly how much each pound costs them to grow, especially indoor. They know how much power they use per plant. They know how much they were spending on newts. They knew everything. So they have I can't give you a price break because the same way I want to make $1,000 a pound, that guy wants to make 500 a pound.
It's a margin. It's built in.
Exactly.
It's like a restaurant. Like I have to make 30%. That's
food
the margin.
Cost.
Yep.
Yeah. And so, but I would, we did that, but I'm sending him everything. And I would just go to my same spot, buy Yum Donuts, legendary ball knowledge, but I would always use that spot. I would use mainly that aquarium business. I never had any issues with that. I never had any problems.
And how would they get the money back, the cash?
Okay, so that's when he started dropping money into my banking. This was the beginning of the end.
Okay, so explain this hustle.
I had a Bank of America account, and I had a local bank out there called Southside Bank that's only in I guess East Texas. They may have them here, but it's only in Texas. It's not in Cali. But so at first when it came time for him to pay, and I always knew you don't do the over 10 grand thing. So I'd just be like, hey, go to the bank and put in 9 grand, or if he only owed me 20 grand, I'd say, hey, put in 5K in one account, 5K in another, and tomorrow go drop 5 and 5. And then when it was bigger money, like if he owed me 40,000, I'd say, well, drop 9 and 9. But then it got kind of a pain in the ass using the same 2 accounts. So my dad had my dad open an account for me. I had my son's mom open an account for me. So now he's got options. So he'll go over to one Bank of America and drop, 8 or 9K into my girl's account. Then he'll go to another Bank of America and drop 8 or 9K into my account, and then so on and so forth. So we did that forever. But here's what's crazy. I remember I learned, what's it called? It's the type of bank that Bank of America, and I don't know if it was just because maybe they knew what I was doing, but I would let the money kind of stack up, and then I'd be like, cool, I'm going to go pull this money out of Bank of America, and I was also dumb too. I wanted cash. Like I didn't like having money sitting in a bank then. It kind of made me nervous because I'm thinking at any given time they could freeze my account. So man, but I know that looked even worse. Like, 20 grand just hit an account and I'm there 2 days later trying to pull it out. But I'm young and dumb at the time. But I remember when I would go to Bank of America and I'd be like, yeah, I want to withdraw $20,000. They would tell me like, oh, well, we only have 5,000 we can take out. We'll call the La Cienega branch and they may have, okay, I just got off the phone with La Cienega. They have 10,000 you could go get. It was just always a pain in the ass. And there's a name for that type of banking structure, but I can't remember what it was. But
fractional reserve banking?
Exactly. That's what it is.
I'm not sure that that's actually fractional reserve banking.
You think they were just bullshitting me?
They don't even know what that fractional reserve banking means. If you put in $1 to a bank, they can create out of thin air so much percentage of that dollar. It's the essence of the fiat currency system that we live in, which is the reason why inflation never ends and everything gets more expensive, because that is when the government wants to stimulate the economy, they lower interest rates so banks can literally create more money out of thin air. And that's why the value of your money goes down every year. Oh, yeah. And that's the source of all our problems. Just gave you kids an economic lesson right there. So that's what they're describing isn't really fractional reserve banking. They just, I guess, don't have enough cash on hand.
I just thought
that seems crazy.
I thought it was weird, but they did that to me like 2 or 3 times, right?
Now, can I ask you this?
Go ahead.
I never did that. And all my years of like cowboying in this business,
I was a dumbass.
I would mail the money back the same, or because it's just money. Yeah. So you can spray that down, vacuum seal it, and you can put it. You don't even have to overnight it. You can put it on FedEx ground delivery, and it's. Your odds of it getting back are very high if you do it right.
See, here's where I took a big L melted money. So that's why we started doing this.
I see. What happened?
So I thought I was going to be smart, or not me, but I had money sent to me that was vacuum sealed. And like I had left some of these big posters, right? But they weren't posters. They were like cloth paintings and shit. They were kind of on like a cloth. You could roll them up, right? And but they were like a cloth material. So I told my boy, just vacuum seal the money, put the money in between the poster, and then buy one of those big tubes and mail it to me, right? So he mailed it to me. And this was small. This was like a dry, like a small. It was only like 10 bands, but it was FedEx, so I was checking the tracker, and it was weird. It said it was out for delivery, and then the whole day went by. I never got it. So I'm calling FedEx. I'm like, hey, that was a piece of art I had. It didn't show up. It said it was out for delivery. It never got delivered. So I'm going back and forth with FedEx's customer service. So the next day, and I knew already. And the next day I get the shit, I open it, the paintings in there, the art, I unroll it. There's wet newspaper in it. Swear to God, wet newspaper, right? So we tighten up. That's when I'm like, well, bro, so
they jacked you.
They
FedEx
jacked me. 100% jacked me.
I mean, right? To be fair, FedEx is the reason that I got locked up, is because it was a package of money that was being mailed. So it can't happen. It just seems like better odds, though, of shipping it than putting it into getting the federal government involved with putting money through the banks.
Yeah, I was looking back at it now. I think the same thing. Like, what the was I thinking?
Well, what are you going to do? But that's I've heard that is a method, is where people go to different accounts and they put in, but you're going to burn yourself out doing that.
And that's what I did. But looking back on it now, I'm like, I'm so dumb for doing that shit. Everything happens for a reason, but and maybe I was supposed to learn a lesson, because I did learn, but I'm like, damn, man, I tripped the out. Well, really, he tripped the out, because well, I'll get to that. So we did the whole mailing thing. He mailed it a couple times, and see, when I first started getting shit from my guy in Oregon, I would mail him cash sometimes, and I never had problems with it. And I would do the same thing. I'd triple vac it, like make it look like a box inside of a box, and never had any trouble. Hey, look, crazy story that, so this was back when I was still hustling, but I mean, before I moved to LA, right? I was hustling out there, and I had given my guy in Oregon a test run, right? So I sell the load. I have the product out there. I got shit from him and JG, and so I go to send him the money, right? And it was 20-something thousand. I vacuum seal it. I send it to him. I'm talking to him on the phone. I'm telling him how good it is. Let me know when it gets there. I sent it FedEx, right? So a couple days go by, and I had filled how on the FedEx packing slip, it's your name, their name, phone number, and shit like that. I put my name, but I didn't put my phone number, but I put his real name and his phone number, right? So he calls me, and I think I overnighted it or 2-day. I can't remember. But he calls me, and he goes, hey, bro, I got a call from Tarrant County Police Department, and they told me that they had that package of money, and they want you to call them. So I'm like, what the? So first thing I do is I call an attorney, right? And I just kind of spitball to the attorney what's going on. And now at the time, my guy has he told me, I said, what'd you tell him it was for? He goes, well, I told him that I had a Plymouth feather duster for sale. It's like a muscle car. He was like, I told him that I had a Plymouth feather duster for sale, and that you were going to come down and pick it up, and that was the money for it, that you didn't want to deal with banks. And I said, well, what did he say? He said that was fine. You just need to call him. So I'm kind of weirded out. So I call an attorney. The attorney tells me, like, no, you should be, and I lie to the attorney. I'm like, oh yeah, I sent my buddy this money for a car, and the cops confiscated it through FedEx. And he's like, no, you're fine. Like, if they ask you any serious questions, you give me a call, but you should be fine. It's not against the law. That's what the attorney told me. And I did Google.
How much cash was it?
It was like 21,000 or 20. It was under, I ended up Googling anything less than 25,000. At least at that time, you could send through the mail legally. I don't know if that's changed, but so anyway, I called the Tarrant County detective or whatever, right? So he tells me, hey, we got a package. Our dogs hit on it. We tested the money. It has traces of MDMA and methamphetamine.
But all money
exactly
has drugs on it.
It was just bullshit.
Yeah.
And then he was like, what was it for? So I told him what my guy told me. And then I told him, he was like, well, why do you have this much cash? And I said, well, look, man, I'm a jeweler. You know, I do jewelry. That was always my scapegoat. I do jewelry for all these major rappers.
That's a good one, though.
It was. And I was like, and I got all this cash on me. You know, I got the receipts to prove it. They pay in cash a lot. I saw a car. I wanted it. I didn't want to have to go to banks. I just sent him the cash. And when I go back out to Los Angeles on business next week, I was going to fly out to pick the car up and drive it back. And he's like, okay, well, I need to do a little bit of investigating and I'll get back to you. So I'm like, cool, whatever. So my dude in Oregon, he went ahead and gave me some more shit because he knew that I did pay. And he wasn't really worried about it either. But well, he was, but not really to the extent to where he felt like he got burnt or anything. So, but yeah, they called me like 10 days later and they were like, yeah, you know, we made a couple phone calls. You're good. You can come out here and pick the money up. He goes, we can't give it back to FedEx and ship it for you.
So what county is this?
It was in Tarrant County. It only made it like 3 hours away from the origin facility.
Which was where?
Tyler.
Yeah,
I sent it to Tyler to Oregon and it got popped in Fort Worth. So it was like 2 hours, 2.5 hours away.
That's crazy. So it never made it on the plane.
No. Apparently, according to them, I guess they were running dogs through the warehouse. I don't know. It all sounded weird to me. But this was long before. This was another one of those things that was really weird, but never came up later. Was never mentioned in my discovery. Or
right.
anything.
So they weren't. So wasn't like they were building this huge indictment over years.
It never came back up. I just thought that was, we were talking about mailing cash, but that's another thing that spooked me. I ended up getting the cash back. Reshipped it to my guy. Business went on. But that was another reason why I was so willing to, because it's like that shit happened and it was a close call. And then the time he did mail cash, they ripped it and jacked me. And it's like, man.
Big time people, send people on private jets.
Oh, yeah.
Big time Coke dealers will put people on a private plane with $250,000 in LA and fly that shit back. Or they'll
millions in a private jet. It don't matter.
Yeah. But they can still search you. People have been popped on private jets all the time, but
Juice World.
Yeah, and a lot of others. But some people will go as far as even weed trappers from the West Coast, they'll just fly commercial over there, pick the money up and drive it back. So it just depends, man. I mean, it's all probability that nothing will go smooth forever in the dope game.
No. Like one of the guys, a dude that I knew, his method was he'd send shit out and he'd let people build up the money that they owe him. And he would fly in and he would buy like a piece of shit car, and then he would hide the money in the car, and then he would pay to ship that car back home.
That's it.
And he would have 100,000 in it and ship it home, and that's smart, know. But also, I never when I get to the point where I'm in LA and I'm sending shit to my guy in East Texas, the money never really built up to where he's sending me $100K at a time. Right. It's like if I'm sending him 10 pounds, he's going to owe me anywhere from, 24 to 26,000. If I send him 20, it's 50 bands. So it's like,
it's not worth it for you to go through all that hassle and pay all that extra expense.
Yeah.
You're in that middle ground where I was, where you're dealing with, even though it's a lot of money, it's still like a boutique level.
Yeah.
Of the game.
Exactly.
But it's $1 million still.
Yeah, that shit adds up.
Yeah.
So in a couple times, which this did pop up in my indictment. One time I did send my then girl down there. Well, I didn't send her down there. She was there visiting family and shit. Her and my son went, and I said, hey, my guy has some cash. I'm just going to have him give it to you. And so go pick it up for me, right? My girl never met up with him, nothing. He left the cash. Like, it was one of those houses, like if you drive up, he had a carport, and his laundry room was outside of the house. It was like a door in the carport, and then the house house was over here. He stashed the cash in the laundry room for her. And he said, yeah, just tell her when she gets here to look in the laundry room. It's behind the detergent container. I got it vacuum sealed. You just tell her she can grab it. So I call her. I tell her that. She picks up the money. She didn't even fly with that cash back. She left it at the house that we had out there. And then that shit happened. And then come to find out, that was when they went through me and him's text message and read months of text messages and shit. That was their sole reason for indicting her and saying that she knew what it was for. We read y'all's text. You told her what the money was for. So tell her she needs to get an attorney because she's getting indicted. And
were you operating on burner phones?
Yeah, I was operating on burner phones until I moved out to LA. Then I'm just like running my business from one iPhone, trapping on another iPhone. But then and I had a separate phone, but at the end of the day, I got complacent. It's 100% on me. Yeah. So I'm going from running my business and hitting my custos and talking to my friends and family all on the same line, even though I got 3 different phones, and so I was pretty much handling everything. And then I did have a iPhone 5C. That was my dispensary phone line. And, but so after that shit happened, she went down there one time, grabbed the cash. I'm like, man, it, just drop the money in these bank accounts. I know it looks sketch now that I look back at it, but at the time I'm just like, man, it's $5,000 and $5,000. Like, they don't give a so long story short,
anytime you say it in the game, you gotta get yourself. Yeah, you can never say it.
Yeah,
it'll be all right.
But see, yeah, and it wasn't. No, I got the felony to prove it. No, but so we're still doing that shit. I'm mailing everything back. Things are going smooth, but what set everything off was he had to drop. It was 24,000. That was like that week's balance, right? And I told him well, hey, and he got to the point I didn't even have to tell him. He had damn near had these the account numbers memorized. He would fill the deposit slip out. He would put the cash with it, put the amount. He'd drop it, and then he would call me, hey, I just dropped X amount into this account, X amount into this account. Well, he went to the bank and he was in a hurry because he had an event he was going to because he was a DJ, right? And he didn't have time for all the back and forth. So he deposited 24,000 into one bank account all at one time. And I read in my discovery packet, that's where it all started. Okay. That's where it all crashed.
So that was like a small regional bank?
It was Southside Bank.
In Texas. And so that alerted the IRS?
Well, no. Okay, so here's how. One day I'm standing there with my dad, it was my dad's account. I'm standing there. We're getting the business started for the day. I'm telling them all the deliveries we have lined up because people would pre-order for the day before. Hey, tomorrow when you guys open, can you do this, this, this? And they'd go ahead and put their orders in. So I was talking to my dad hey, we got this. And because we would sit there and if 5 orders came in, we'd put all the addresses in the GPS and kind of coordinate our route. Hey, we'll stop here first, we'll stop here, then here, and shit like that. So my dad gets a call from the bank and they tell him, hey, Mr. Campos, we just wanted to make you aware that you had a cash deposit, but the money smelled so strongly of marijuana that we can't put it back into circulation, but we're still going to make the money available to your balance. So he's like, okay. So he gets off the phone and he tells me that. And I'm just like, and dude, at the time, I'm popping a bunch of lower tabs and narcos, and I'm smoking a bunch of weed. And I was really kind of not a shitty person. I had a good heart, but I was kind of rude and didn't give a I had a bunch of money. He couldn't really tell me nothing. If I didn't think about it, it's not a good idea. You know what I mean? And my dad told me that. And instead of listening and being damn, man, we should take it easy. And I cut my dad. I said, is the money there or not? He was just like, yeah, it's there. I said, okay, cool. End of story. Let's move on. And But it wouldn't have mattered even if I did change the way I did. The goose was cooked from that moment. It was done for. So what happened is, and I learned this from my discovery packet, the bank tellers were talking about how bad the money smelt of weed. And this was like some serendipitous ass bullshit. Like it was just meant to be. I was a goner because like the security guard working overhears the two bank tellers talking and says, "Hey, I just work security here part-time. I actually work with the Smith County Sheriff's Department. Like, do you have the information on who deposited the money and where it's going?" And she said, "Yeah, he came through the drive-through. He showed his ID," and he's like, "Cool, just give me the info and I'll forward it to my buddy in narcotics." And that's what started everything. So from there, they start watching him. They really,
your guy in
Tyler.
Okay.
They start watching him. Now I'm still just living life. I'm making deliveries, and then
Are they watching you in LA?
No.
Okay.
No, they had no fun. And it's crazy because I saw in my discovery packet, Smith County was calling LAPD and saying, "Hey," they laughed at them.
Of course.
Yeah. They're like,
get in line. You know how many we got of these guys?
Yeah.
Everybody in LA is doing this.
Exactly. And they're just like, "Oh, and so he owns a dispensary and he owns a dispensary." And they're like, "Yeah, he owns a dispensary." And the cop even told me that like when he was raiding the house, he was like, "I had to wait for you to come back because LAPD wasn't any help to us," And I'm just like, well, of course they wouldn't.
It's like saying a car was stolen in LA.
Yeah. It's like,
can you do something about it?
For real.
There's a homeless person. Oh, no shit.
Bro, but they really thought that they were going to get something done that way. But in LA, I was a law-abiding small business owner. They wrote about Platinum Star Healthcare in the LA Times and the fastest growing family-owned dispensary servicing the Hollywood and Beverly Hills area. And life was just super good. We're having a great time,
So how did they eventually get was it the sheriff's department who raided you in LA?
Well, no, nobody raided me in LA. I got raided when I went back to Texas.
Okay.
So what happened was from that moment, they start watching my guy like a hawk, right? But we still run business as usual, and I'm mailing them as usual, 10 pounds every 2 weeks or it's really on the basis of if he needs it. Sometimes it gets to the point where I'm like, "Hey bro, you need to pay up. It's been a little while." And then other times it's like 3 days later, he's ready to pay. And I'm like, "Dog, like, you slow down, but we still just do business regularly." And then one day he calls me and he tells me one of his guys got popped. And so one of his main guys that he was giving shit to got pulled over, right? And the dude had some weed and a gun on him, right? So I guess he goes in, he makes bond, he goes back to my guy and he tells him, "Hey man, they arrested me and they know everything. They know that you're getting it from Campo in LA. They know that he owns a dispensary. Like they know everything." And
so he flipped.
I don't think
his guy flipped.
I don't think he flipped. He may have told them a little, but the cop in Smith County, they're like small town mentality. They like to talk shit to you. The whole time I was getting raided, they were talking shit to me, like saying personal. I've been waiting. I'll tell you about that. But so he tells my guy they know everything, right? And I did find out through my discovery packet that once my guy made the deposit in my dad's account, he looked up my dad on Facebook. He found my dad's account on Facebook, and my dad, and this is all in the discovery, that my dad put his occupation was COO of Platinum Star Healthcare. We had a page on Facebook and everything. They clicked that. Now they see that I'm the owner, right? So now they're looking at my Facebook. Now they already know my guy's name. They're seeing all our ties. They see the stuff we're talking about on our board. And we weren't talking about anything like business wise, but they just see like how friendly we are, how much we're talking and shit. And so they just start putting shit together. And so my guy, he's really not moved by it. He's just like, "Damn, bro." He was more along the lines of, "Man, I'm going to quit selling to them." But he told me that they know everything that we're doing. And I'm like, I don't really think, as long as he didn't say it, just quit serving him. Like, it don't matter. He's like, all right, cool. So he quit serving that guy. And then, so we had a little bit of that load left. I don't know how much he had left, but he leaves his house. And this was like a day or two after that guy gets out on bond. He's leaving his house and he gets pulled over, right? But he's riding clean. He don't have shit on him. And, but he said the cops, now they're telling him to his face, step out of the car. We know what you're doing. We're going to search this car. We have reason to believe that that you're involved in drug trafficking. And they're telling, and my guy, he's just not saying shit, or he's telling them no. But they're like, we know you're getting it from Campo. They're telling him the same shit. We know it's coming from LA. We know you're getting it from a dispensary, and they tear his car apart. He said he's pulled over for like 2 hours. They tear his car apart and they don't find shit. And the cop told him, I remember his name. It was Greg Harry. That was the cop that popped me. Greg Harry, and the other one was something Mackey. That bitch ass. Right. They took it way too personally. And, but they tell my guy, we may not get you today. We may not get you tomorrow, but we're going to get y'all. So they drive off. My guy goes home, and, my guy calls me. He tells me everything that happened. He's freaked the out. So now I'm kind of getting freaked the out. So he's like, bro, we need to put a pin in it. We need to quit. So I'm like, I'm cool with that. I've really just been wanting to find a reason to pull out of this shit, because LA is going great.
Yeah.
This is more of a hassle than a benefit. Yeah, there's money being made, but man, I look at it like there were times I'm scrambling to re-up in LA, and I'm like, I shouldn't have sent my guy 10 pounds yesterday, because now I got to re-up on the fly before I open. I could have just saved this shit for me and made even more money on it. You're
doing it legit.
Yeah.
You're operating in that perfect gray area in LA. Why risk the federal shit?
100%. But my guy, I'll never forget. And not that it's his fault. I'm the one that made the decision, but I talked to him before I moved, the day I moved. And he said, dog, I need you. Please don't forget about me. I don't go out there and start your dispense. Please don't forget about me. I said, dog, I got you. Don't worry. Because he was, the man now. He's used to making a certain amount of money. So I'm like, I got you. I wish I would have just said, nah, bro, if you want it, you need to fly out to me. But instead, I was just like, So now he's spooked. So we quit around. I don't send shit back to Tyler for at least 9 or 10 months. I don't send shit to him. So it's not even in my mind anymore. That's done. That chapter's closed. Yeah. We're working the dispensary. We're doing our thing. And so we go back to Smith County. Me, my son, and my then girl, right? My son's like a year old. We still have a house there. It was my dad's house. So it's like, but when I would go there, we'd stay there. My dad's still in LA at this time. He's doing his thing, working the dispensary while we're gone. And, so we're chilling at home, and we're there that first day, and we eat dinner, and we're just talking about all the stuff we're going to do while we're here at home, like restaurants we've missed, because we hadn't been home or I haven't been home in almost a year at this point. So so we already had our whole day planned for tomorrow, and go to sleep, and my son's mom was up tending to my son at 6:00 in the morning, and then and I was asleep, and then I just wake up and she's just shaking me. Hey, you gotta wake up. I think the cops are at the door. And I'm in a dead ass sleep, and I'm like, the cops are at the door? Why the would the cops be at the door? Because in my mind, I'm like, I don't even break the law here. And like I said, I hadn't mailed Bud there in 8 or 9 months. Why would the cops be at the door? So I think somebody's with me. Now I do have the cash I brought, 10 or 11 grand, and I've got 2 pounds of bud that I had mailed down there before I got there, just so I had smoke. And so if I wanted to serve some people up now that I'm back in town, I wanted to give them some of that LA gas that I brought and shit, because I had some of that Sierra shit at the time. So I had that shit, and it was just out. I had it on my counter, just plain view in the kitchen. And I'm thinking my girl's tripping, right? So as I go to the front door, I hear, search warrant, open the door, sir. And as I go to reach for the door, that just comes off the frame. Ooh. And they hit it with the battering ram. And this is a steel door, right? And they literally tore the whole frame. Like the door didn't come down, the frame did. Bro, I swear, at first I thought I was getting robbed because these came in ski masked up, assault rifles, don't move, don't move. I got my dog, RIP Gizzard, had him for 18 years, but my actual dog, a Maltese that went everywhere with me, he's barking like a and I'm like, I put my hands on him, like, just don't shoot my dogs, you know. And my girl at the time, she's like cradling my son. It was some traumatic ass shit. And it made me sick because they're acting like I'm some cartel. I hear them in the kitchen. They're like, it's clear. The kitchen's clear. And I'm like, dog, you know, I'm selling weed. But in my mind, I'm still just like, what the is all this about? You know, and they tell me we're here on a money laundering search warrant, right? So it's mainly just Smith County Sheriff's Department. I lived in a town called White House, which is Pat Mahomes went to school at the same high school I did. It's a suburb of Tyler. It's kind of on the outskirts of it. And it's all Smith County Sheriff's officers. It's one White House PD, I guess, to make it legit. I guess they had to have somebody from the direct jurisdiction there. And then there's two guys in FBI windbreakers, right? So they tell me, they pull me outside. They pull my son's mom to another room and they keep my son, they keep them together, right? They were kind of kind to them, right? And, but they got me in cuffs and they got me in the front yard. And when they brought me outside, I've got no shirt on. Keep in mind at that time, I weighed like 350 pounds. So I'm just fat as I'm in my boxers and I got
no door.
No door. My socks, or I got weed socks on, and they're like pulled all the way up. The cops are talking. I remember the main cop was like, "Oh, how fitting is that? Yeah, that's all you care about is marijuana." And like, he was just he's a douchebag, dude. I looked him up.
Nobody likes you.
No,
Your
they don't.
Wife cheats on you.
Has to. He's a cuck. He gave big cuck energy, and like. I ended up looking him up. I don't know if it was Greg Mackey. I hit up one of them when I got out of the pen. Like,
was it Greg Abbott?
No.
Governor Greg Abbott.
Oh yeah, Hot Wheels. No, it was Greg Harry, and I think it was Adam Mackey. But I looked one of them up. One of them is still in Smith County law shit, but the other one works for the Department of Homeland Security now. And because I was Googling them and shit, but so. They take me outside, they're talking shit, and they're like, I told y'all I was going to get y'all. And I'm just like, what's this about? And they're like, it's a money laundering search warrant. And then they told me and my son's mom, as I was walking out, as of this morning, your bank accounts are all property of the U.S. government. And they set down a stack of papers just showing like the accounts they seized, the amounts of money that was in them. And what's crazy is all the while, my dad's still in LA, he's sound asleep.
And how much money did they seize?
Altogether, it was $325,000.
That was all in banks.
Yeah. And that's in the, like when they look it up, like if you look up the news story with my name and shit, some of them are conflicting. Some of them say 375 and the other one says 325, but it was closer to 325.
And that's FBI, right?
Yeah. That was the feds is who sees the actual bank accounts.
So I want to wrap up and we'll jump over to the Patreon so you could talk about kind of how this all concluded. Real quick though, tell us what happened, what became of this, the charges and the prison time.
Okay, so I ended up originally me, my son's mom, my co-defendant, his girl, and my pops, and the first guy that got pulled over leaving. We were all charged with first degree engaging in organized criminal activity on the state level. The feds didn't prosecute but we did all get hit with a first-degree felony that was from 5 to 99 years in the state of Texas.
So the feds seized your money, but the state charged you.
Yeah.
That's wild.
And see, to my understanding, it's like we were talking about, they go on the point system. I had a squeaky clean record.
Right.
There was no violence. I would have done like a year in the feds if they even sent me. But I had so much plausible deniability too, because I had all the letters and receipts from the jewelry, and I'm dying on the hill that all that cash was from the jewelry I'm selling. Here's the receipts to prove it. I can back it all up. I got letters from these guys. I got pictures with them, and I was telling them the money that guy dropped in my account, him and his wife had got a divorce. And I was like, he needed money to repair his house because they were going to sell it after the divorce. I had loaned him that money, because they only knew he only had to show his ID on that one $24,000 deposit. So the rest of the deposits were just $9,000, $5,000. Nobody showed any ID. So I was telling him the $24,000 is because I gave him money to remodel his house so he could sell it. So I'm dying on that hill. And then so my attorney calls me because I still got arrested for the 2 pounds of weed I had when they raided me. And then, but I end up bonding out on that. And then my attorney calls me. He goes, "You're good. Go back to LA. The feds aren't going to prosecute you. I'm going to get you probation for the marijuana. That's a state jail felony in Texas. I'll get you 2 or 3 years probation. You have no criminal history. You're good. Get the out of here." So I'm happy. I'm telling my son's mom, hell yeah, we're good. They ain't gonna with us.
But they didn't unfreeze your accounts, right?
Oh no, that shit was gone. They did tell us because I had $11,000 and they took that too. Right?
Could you? I'm sure you could have sued them or given them all of the paperwork to try to get that money back, right?
Well, that was kind of the plan that I was going because, all right, so they had taken cash from me too when they arrested me. And then they were telling me there was this form I had to fill out and I had to prove where it came from and all this type of shit. And then, and they actually delivered me the form. I guess it had to be hand delivered, like kind of like by a registered type of person, like a sheriff dropped me the paperwork off. They showed up after I was on bond, but that was the plan. When I bonded out, I'm like, I'm going to get this money back. We're going to get back to LA. I'll do the probation for the state jail felony weed charge. No big deal. So that was the process of what we were doing. I told my attorney, hey, let's get the money back. Let's do what we got to do. So he calls me like a week later and he said, hey, I got some bad news. You need to come back because Smith County is picking up the charges. And they're charging you with first degree engaging in organized criminal activity. And he was like, and they're charging your fiance and they're charging your dad. So y'all all need to come down here. They did a secret indictment. They called me this morning. You guys have to turn yourself in by tomorrow night. So then we all flew down there. We met at the attorney's office ahead of time. My co-defendant and all his people, they had to do the same thing. They went and, well, actually, I think they went and got them they just showed up at their house and arrested them. But he didn't have an attorney. Like I had an attorney from day one, and he ended up getting an attorney. But I had that plus I was out of town. They wanted to, I should have just never came back, Did
you think about going on the run?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Where would you have gone?
Man, I was looking up like Ecuador, Spain, Portugal. I was really looking at places. I was at the Target over there by the Beverly Center, and I was walking, the one that has the indoor parking garage with the elevator on it, and I was walking around and was Googling places with no extradition. And then I'm sitting there telling my son's mom about it. And she's like, our son's 1 year old. Like we can't grow up or we can't let him grow up and you be on the run. Like we just need to face it. She used the voice of reason. She's like, she's a wise woman to this day. We're still very close friends. Right. And she's like, you got an attorney. We're going to face this head on. We're going to get through it. So that's what we did.
Wow. So it was really your baby mom's.
Oh yeah, because
I was ready. You went to prison.
No, but I was ready to I was ready to take off. But then when she said that, I started thinking like,
did you have any cash anyways? Did you have any money to start over?
We had some money in LA.
Yeah.
From the dispensary, but nothing crazy. Like, I was just letting my bread stack up in those accounts. There was the bud that I still had. Like, I can't remember an exact number, but like 10 pounds, 15 pounds is what we had to work the dispensary. And then I had brought the 11 grand with me back, and but I was just letting the money build up. If your people look it up, they can see. But there was like,
were you paying tax on it?
Hell no.
Yeah, that's part of the problem.
That was the banger.
If you could have been, if you were filing like with the IRS and stuff,
quarterly for a 1099 or something. Which is, I didn't know any of that shit though. And like, but that is what I should have done. And that's why when I was fighting the charge at a state level, I'm telling my attorney, can we just pay taxes on this shit? Like, aren't the receipts good enough? It's all legit. And he's just like, well, they were going through your text messages and they got in your phone and they were going through because at that time I had my MacBook, my iPad, and my phone all on the same shit. So they couldn't get in my phone, but they're on my iPad or my MacBook, and they're seeing everything.
So that's how they built most of the case, was
everything
just through your iPad,
through my iCloud account, and then through my co-defendant's girlfriend who got charged. She gave the cops her phone. Okay. So that's how they built their side, was through her phone, and they pieced that together, and then they pieced my side through he and I conversation, my conversation with my dad, my conversation with my son's mom.
So it wasn't like they had a bunch of cooperation.
No.
And it wasn't like they didn't have any wiretaps.
Oh, no, there was no wiretaps. There was no, bro, they even lied and said, like, the day I got in town, I met up with my homeboy, but my guy I was giving everything to, but I wasn't like giving him anything. Like, I had those 2 pounds, but I didn't give him any of it at all. Right. And they had said, which I saw in my discovery packet, they had said that they witnessed him because they were watching when I got in town. And they told me that they witnessed him come over and they saw him leave with boxes that they believed were full of either money or marijuana. And that shit never even happened. Like, they didn't ever catch us with any weed other than the 2 pounds I got caught with.
They didn't have any controlled buys.
No controlled buys, nothing. Wow. It was all off the strength of those text messages. And I'm so dumb and naive that, my first attorney is telling me at first he tells me they want to give me 35 years. And if I take the 35 years, that my dad and my son's mom will get probation. So I'm like, man, what the So then he gets it down to like 24 years. And he's telling me like, this is a good deal. And in my mind, I'm like, I've never been in trouble. Like, is this a good deal? We're all out on bond. We're having to piss weekly. The court still let us go back to LA to run the dispensary while I'm on pretrial supervision. I swear to God, they would let us fly back to LA to run the dispensary. They were letting us check in there to piss once a week at the probation there. And they would fax the results back to Smith County. And then once a month we had to do an in-person visit until the case was resolved. Mm-hmm. I did that for 9 months. Right. And, so he's telling me when I go in and visit him, he's telling me like 24 years is a good deal. And I don't know how serious my charge is. And organized crime is a very serious thing. And it's a multi-state drug smuggling ring. And in my mind, I'm like, it's just weed. It's really just two friends. Like, I was just sending my homeboy Bud, and he was making his money. Dude. Well, he was. I ended up firing him, right? I fired him. He's telling me, you can't fire me. It's not that easy. That's the best deal you can get. Da 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 da. So I ended up hiring Jason Parrish, great attorney. If you're jammed up in Smith County, call him. He's federal and state. He start seeing all the bullshit that my first attorney, Buck Files, horrible attorney. And in the city, everybody says he's a great attorney. That's why my girl gave him 15 grand to represent me, because he's supposed to be this hotshot attorney and shit. Man, he sailed me down a river. He's telling the DA shit that I told him in confidence. Like these are knowing shit that wasn't in text messages and I didn't tell them. So how the do they know it? And
yeah, you think when you're young, you think 15 grand is a lot to a lawyer.
It ain't shit.
I paid my lawyer 20 grand and I told these cartel guys in the county jail, they go, oh, that's why you're like 20 grand.
They got a retainer at 100 grand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, we better up this.
Yeah.
I gave him 50, but.
Well, see, I ended up firing that attorney and I got Jason, and Jason really saved my life. He got, now all of like my dad and my fiance at the time, they got probation for engaging in organized criminal activity. So if they ever up on probation, they would have went to prison for that serious ass charge.
Right.
My attorney got my charge, and since it happened to me, they had to reduce the charge of my co-defendant too. You know, so I got money laundering and he got money laundering. So I ended up getting my shit down to 7 years, right? So at one point, like I'm going back and forth, and my attorney had got it down to 4 years, right? And then I'm just like, you know, because he's actually presenting the information for me, like, hey, this is the list of everything that he did, and that was cash, and yeah, he made.
What do you mean?
Like for the
who's he? Presenting a list of information.
My attorney is presenting the information to the DA.
Okay.
The list that I gave him with the jewelry, the receipts, the sales. He's accounting for the cash. He's speaking on my behalf. Buck Files was just trying to get me to sign for shit.
Right.
You know, this guy's actually fighting for me. And like, so there was a DA, his name was Matt Bingham, and he had agreed to give me 4 years, right? And this was right before Christmas. And I should have taken it. Christmas miracle, right? So I'm telling my attorney, I'm like, man, just tell him to give me probation. You know, knowing what I know now, I'm glad I didn't do probation. I would have signed for 10 years probation if they would have given it to me.
And had your baby mom and
they had already signed for probation. Yeah.
For how long?
8 years.
8 years.
And I would have been willing to sign for 10 years just so I didn't have to get locked up and be without my son and be without them. I've never been in trouble. And so he offers him the 4. He tells me to talk about or think about it, and that we'll reconvene after the holiday, right? So I start talking to some of my homeboys that have been to prison, and they're like, dog, it ain't shit. 4 years. Like, go down there and do a year. You'll make parole. You're good. So I'm like, I'm going to do it. So after the holidays ends, I call my attorney. I call Jason. I said, shit, tell him I'll do it. Tell him I'll take the 4 just to give me a couple weeks to get my affair in order. And he's like, okay. So he calls him. Well, now that DA, he's not there anymore. There's a different DA that came in at the beginning of the year. And he goes, nah, I'm not giving him 5 years. I'm not going to give him anything less than, or he goes, I'm not going to give him 4 years. I'm not going to give him anything less than 10 years. So my attorney called me back. He goes, hey, look, you know, this attorney's name, everybody called him Mr. Biggs. I think his last name was Big, like Mr. Biggs. But, he was the DA. And so my attorney's telling him, hey man, like they had already told him 4, he was ready to take it. So long story short, they compromise and we come to 7. That was in between the 4 and the 10.
Right.
So I signed for the 7. I fucking go and do 5.5 years on the 7.
When'd you get out?
I got out at the beginning of 2021, went in 2016.
Damn. Went through COVID and all that shit.
I got out right as COVID started to pop off. Like I was like, luckily I wasn't in prison when it was locked down. None of it wasn't too crazy yet. It was like we were watching it and seeing the shit break out on the news and shit like that. But it wasn't, you know, when I got out at the beginning of 2021, it wasn't too awful. You know what I'm saying?
It's wild.
Now, I know like a couple, because I stayed in contact with a bunch of my guys in there when I got out, and then they got out, and they were like, dog, it got to the point, like in the state of Texas, when you get out of prison, like they have release units. So even if you're in the Panhandle, or if you're in Houston, or if you're in the Dallas area, wherever, they send you to a release unit, or the release unit that's closest to the address you're paroling to. And but during COVID, they told me that they were just letting you out from the unit you were housed at because they weren't running chain. They weren't running any of that shit. Like if your parole day hit, your people would just come to the prison that you were housed at, and then you walk out the front door. But I had to get on chain.
Yeah. The worst.
Yeah. A month before I got out, I'm going from unit to unit to unit to make it all the way from South Texas all the way to West Texas where I got out at. And I'm
strip searches.
Dude, a lot of strip searches, a lot of spending the night here, waking up. Now we're backtracking to pick up some guys, spend the night. It was took me a month to get home, but I got home.
So what are you doing now, man? What do you got going on now?
Man, now I'm doing the podcasting thing, and my day job, I work in oil and gas.
You work in like the fields?
No. Stop it. Come on. No,
You're not that Mexican.
No, hell no. No, and that's crazy because all of them speak Spanish, and I'm half Mexican, but I don't speak Spanish, so they give me a lot of shit. But no, I do like a equipment inspection. That's my thing,
Gotcha.
So it's pretty laid back. Cool. It's more of like a knowledge based thing.
Well, what do you want to plug? What do you want people to check out?
Man, just keep checking me out. I'm going to be doing more podcasts. I got a couple more lined up. I'm working on my own podcast. I'll give you my YouTube link so you can put it in the description, and then my TikTok and all that stuff.
Hell
I got a lot more in store.
You're a hustler, man.
Man, I got to get it each and every day.
I've saw and heard a lot of myself in your story. So that was a hell of an era, man.
Game recognized game. You had to be there.
Yeah. Oh, it was an exciting time, man.
And bro, I ain't gonna bullshit. I'll have to come back because there's so much shit that I wanted to touch on but this podcast would be 7 hours and we kept going. So, next time.
For sure. Incredible story. Justin Campos, man. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. All right, you guys. We'll see you over at patreon.com/TheConnect Show. Peace out.